what I was asking you.
Yeah, it says preparing to go live. It says preparing, setting up your meeting to YouTube live. I'm looking at my phone right now, make sure it's going. All right, you're on YouTube right now.
All right.
All right, we good, right? Okay, we good. It's live.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I see it. So, like I was saying, to have endured during the most challenging times, and then you're there. Go and have a seat out. You know the child. I'm gonna need you to read. Yetazah is not going to be in this evening. But like I was saying, was the Most High. He'll take us through. First of all, we get this information, and He gives us so much of it. And then the time comes where our experience, man, in the school and with one another, right? The differences in personalities, the challenges that you have that's coming from within yourself, with the change that you're supposed to be making, then the challenges that come with accommodating the brothers and sisters that are around you and all of their different personalities and them struggling as well to bring themselves into order, and then how we're affecting one another. Then you got the issue of the stewards that's in charge and what the circumstance might be with respect to the decisions that's being made, and then blessings that come and how the resources from the blessings are being allocated. All of that is what the Most High is using, man, to measure you. I say you, meaning if there was 30 people right now that I was looking at, that means you. But right now, I only see 3. In other words, everybody has to go through that. And that's why it's so important that the teachers, when that window of opportunity come, and the reason why I say window of opportunity, I'm talking about the teaching, because as far as our work is concerned, when I say our work, I mean the circle of brothers and sisters that we hands-on work with. Our entire experience from my experience coming in from 88, getting to New York in 90, and my personal experience has always been the Most High expect hard work. The Most High expect, and so we have these moments, months, sometimes a year, more, less, but then things happen to where the Most High give us an opportunity to exercise and to put into practice all the things that we've learned. And it's just not, so that means literally that, all the things. And the greatest challenges are the circumstances that teach us, or I should say the circumstances that give us an opportunity to exercise what we've been taught against, not against as in you versus me, but using each other as apparatuses. So you're gonna offend me. Because if you don't offend me, then what happens? Then I don't get worked on. I don't get to take time and have to use forgiveness. I don't get to take time and have to use patience. I don't get to the opportunity to take time and use what? And use long suffering. What is all that? How do we get all of that? First of all, how do we get all of that? And second of all, why do we need it? We get all of that by offending one another. We get all of that. Now, listen, I'm just saying offending because I'm putting the greatest emphasis for now on forgiveness. But the truth of the matter is, we get all of that because that's what we are coming out of the world. Yeah. It's like brothers be having such a, Israel has such an unfair, high expectation of people coming out of the truth. Then if we get that expectation under control, then we're not fair with the time that it really takes to change. With the time that it really takes to make the trend, meaning my expectation of how long you need to make yourself, to bring your flesh under control. The Most High, giving us the rest of our life. And that's not saying we go and poke around, take time, and make it a point to take to make the adjustments on our own time. The point is, those are the things that teach. Like right now, I guarantee you, you in particular, have a great appreciation for how things are running now. And you're working no less harder. As a matter of fact, you're probably working harder now.
Huh.
But now harder with benefits.
Huh.
And when I say benefits, I ain't talking about money. I'm making reference to you being, what's the true benefit? Like I said before you were recording, you get to see the before and the after. You get to see, you get to experience and therefore appreciate, right, what's going on now by how it was before. That's what the Most High did. And so what determines who stays and who goes in that process while things are challenging and until times get better? Brother, it'd be number one, it'd be the preparation that the stewards be done taking the brothers and sisters through. That's the importance of class. And then number two, what happens? It'd be whether during that preparation, what each person did. Did you receive it? Did you inculcate it? Do you think this is religion? You don't expect to really be challenged? Because but the Most High tell us in Matthew chapter 13, when it talks about the sower, the seed, the sower and the seeds, and those four types. Type one, remember, we already went over that. It's eliminated. That's the seed that fall by the wayside. That's the person that gets introduced and it doesn't take. He doesn't get it. But the most important ones that we gonna have to fight through is the second and third seed. The second seed, it says, is he have no root in himself. That's the one that fell among the seed, among the ground, but it was stony. And we went over the verses and showed that that the stony place represented the stony heart that the Most High is going to pull out of us once we make it through the wilderness. Wow. So that means for whatever reason, you got brothers and sisters that'll spend however long being taught, but not allowing it in. You got to let it in. Now, are you telling the Most High he's a liar? Is that what we're supposed to believe? That we came into the truth and the word didn't work? Because the scriptures say it was neither herb nor mollifying plaster that restored them to health, but thy word, which, O Lord, which healeth all things. And we do know that the word does heal us. So that means if we don't get the proper depth, we're not allowing the Most High, the word, to take the effect that it's designed to have. We have to receive the administered. You know, like you have a dosage of medicine. You don't get healed. Let the medicine sit on top of your cabinet. You got to set your alarm. The doctor said, "Hold on, listen, you can take this so many times a day before a meal." And every time the meal comes, you take the meal, but not the medicine. And you go back for your checkup, and the doctor be like, "Man, you still, I see that your whatever condition is worsening." That's because you're not doing. You have to administer it. Yeah. You got to use it, and that's how this word is, and more so.
So I have to exercise, not resist. I would have to exercise the word that I'm being taught.
You got to exercise, exactly. But here's the point: how are you going to exercise it if the Most High don't bring about circumstances that require that you exercise it? Circumstances that give you the opportunity. We'll be praying for patience. So the Most High have to create something that you need that you got to wait for. That's how you get patience. There's no other way. Simple and plain. He wants us to become more loving. Shit, what do we got to exercise that against? We got to exercise that against all of our hateful tendencies, all of our hateful inclinations, all of our hateful dispositions. That's the only way love, the love of the Most High, can be exercised in you. It has to be exercised in you in the face of hatred, because that's where we all come from. We all come from a hateful experience, and this is why last week I referred to us as what? As broken adults. And we are broken adults. People we act like, and Christ said so. That's why Christ told the Pharisees, you know, they asked him, but why do you always hang out with the sinners? And he said, those that are not sick need not a physician. I am come for the sick.
Huh.
But you guys don't need, clearly you're not sick, so you don't need the service that I came to render. So that's how it is with us. Now, why am I going through all of that? Because this is how the Most High takes us and converts us into servants. That's how we learn how to serve. We learn how to serve having been served. We learn how to be instruments. We become instruments of healing. We become the agents through whom Christ operates on other people, having been operated on. I want to say this is a lifetime endeavor. You know what I mean? Huh?
Some people approach it as a phase in their life. It's like thing, or
right.
thing.
Right, a phase, exactly. And they don't understand that the Most High is actually giving us a new life. And like you always hear me say it, what does it require? How long does it take to build a new life? It takes a lifetime. So what we're really here to be converted to is servants, but servants of one another. And we'll call ourselves the Most High servants. And we are. But who does the Most High direct our attention to and direct and instruct us, right, to extend our services to? Not himself. He don't need anything that we could possibly conjure up down here. That's in the book of Psalms. The Most High said, if I were hungry, I wouldn't come to you. So he takes the servants that he's developing, and he turns our attention to all of our needs. We are who we serve. We serve the Most High, and the Most High has directed our attention through Christ to one another and all of our needs. And those needs are many. We're the ones that are used to shepherd brothers and sisters along in their development as servants so that they could end up doing the same thing. That's what this is all about. Now, last week, we finished off on, I think we finished off on Philippians. Let's do a rehash real quick. Let's go to Philippians chapter 2. Last week we read verses 1 through 8, but this time we're just going to start off in verse 5. Philippians chapter 2, verse 5 through 8. And the reason why we went there is because it told us what mentality we're supposed to be in. It told us what mentality we are supposed to be in. Remember, so go ahead, Daria, you're going to be reading verse 5.
Philippians chapter 2 and verse 5. Let this mind be in you, which was also in Yahushua.
So right off the bat, what is he saying? Think like this. Let this be the spirit from which you operate. Let this be your motive. When it says, let this mind be in you as it was in Christ, those are all the things that it's telling us. How to think, what is our motive, what is our disposition. So what is it? Go ahead.
It says, who, being in the form of God, thought it not robbery to be equal with God.
It's talking about the nature of Christ while he was in the spiritual realm. That's what it tells you what? In John chapter 1, in the beginning, the word was with the Most High, and the word was a power, right? So he's saying, in other words, he was made like that, so there was no need for Christ to be apologetic for being made like that. But with all of that glory, with all of that spiritual nature, how did he demonstrate his love to us? Because remember, once again, it started off by saying, let this mind be in you like what was in Christ. Go ahead.
But made himself of no reputation, and took upon him the form of a servant.
Hey, that's Kolak. And made of himself no reputation. So we're supposed to create a standard, and I'm talking about the stewards are supposed to create and uphold the standard where it's clear to all of us that this ain't about us. This is not about, like I said, you have all of them congregations that's so endeared. We're supposed to love one another, but like I ain't pushing no man. I'm not saying you're not supposed to hear come out of my mouth every time I'm making reference to whatever work the Most High is using me to do. I'm attributing that to some man that then did it, some captain, some general that then did it. The scriptures say don't do that. And here it tells us Christ made of himself no reputation. So for those men, for those generals, for those captains, for those bishops, for those deacons to even let that happen, they're wrong. They're supposed to check their students. They're supposed to check. Christ did it when he was here. Listen, that's why he said, that's why we're reading it. Who didn't come up to Christ and say, good master, good master, what must I do to gain eternal life? What did Christ say? Why callest thou me good? He didn't let nobody praise him. Think about it. That ain't the first occasion. There was another woman that heard Christ's teaching, and the woman said, blessed be the paps that did give thee suck. In other words, trying to exalt his mother. Oh, your mother must be proud of you. And Christ said, no, better yet, blessed be the Most High. You know what I mean? Blessed be the Most High. And that is showing us what? The template to operate from. We're supposed to be servants, right? We're supposed to operate from the spirit of a servant. We're servants in training. That's why the Most High puts us through these episodes that be more like sagas, right? But listen, how did the Most High teach David? See, the Most High did not have to teach David, talking about King David, what type of king or what type of king to be. The Most High didn't teach David that. The Most High taught David what type of king not to be, because he already knew David's spirit. Remember, when he rejected Saul, when the Most High rejected Saul behind his second offense, the second offense was he didn't go in and do what was supposed to be done with the Amalekites. He brought back the king and brought back the sheep and the cattle and stuff. So the Most High said, I have raised up thy servant, which will do and fulfill my will. He already knew David's heart. He said that when he sent Samuel down to what? To anoint him king. Samuel went to Jesse and said, the Lord has sent me to anoint one of your sons king over Israel. And Jesse brought back everybody but David. His own father didn't even think that he would be one. Think about that, y'all. It's not saying his father didn't love him. It's not saying his father didn't hold him in some form of, respectful esteem. But he definitely wasn't going to be no king, not in his own father's eyes, because his father didn't call him. But the Lord told Jesse that the Lord looketh not upon man as men do. And what David's father didn't even know is how David had risked his life for his father's dumb animals. From a bear on one occasion and from a lion on another. So David showed the Most High how he would be as a shepherd over people by showing how he was a shepherd over animals. You understand? So why did David have to go through all of that affliction under Saul? Because David needed a lesson on how not to be. And that's what happened with many of you brothers and sisters. You get one shepherd and you have to endure, and David had to endure years. Moses had to endure the unruly, ungovernable congregation for 40 years. Think about that. So here's the deal. That's what this is about. When you read verse 5, that was verse 5 through 7, right? Read verse 7 again.
Verse 7. Philippians chapter 2 and verse 7. But made himself of no reputation and took upon him the form of a servant.
I'm going to tell you, I challenge every brother and sister to do that, because that's how the blessing comes. That's how the Most High uses you to contribute to the collective blessing that that the body gets,
No.
and then the particular or personal blessing that you get.
No.
The mentality is, I'm here to serve. It's not about me. And the scriptures tell you, humble thyself in the hands of before the hands of the Lord, that he may exalt thee in due time. And the scriptures say that. It says that whosoever shall exalt himself shall be abased, but whosoever shall abase himself shall be exalted. That's how you get exalted, huh? So we all become one another's greatest priorities. I'm going to show you that. The Most High measure us like you would measure somebody on how they treat your children.
Yeah,
that's a good neighbor. Somebody looked out for your son. You couldn't make it to pick him up from school on time, but you got a neighbor right across the street, 2 houses down, whatever, and you guys know each other. Not likely these days, but I'm just giving an example. And all of a sudden, one day you can't make it for some odd reason. You weren't even able to call your son or your daughter, and your neighbors bring your child home from school. That you'll appreciate that. Gave him some lunch, oh, don't worry about it, man. I know you do the same for me. That right there would endear that person to you. That's how the Most High is with us and his children. We just happen to be his children. But when we treat each other the way he wants us to treat each other, when we suffer each other, because when we say suffer, that's how our true love is being measured. Our true love is being measured by when I say what we suffer, meaning what we endure, the inconvenience that we endure for one another. Listen, Christ endured some mad inconvenience for us, but we have to endure the inconvenience for one another on the ins and outs of the days. Just all the things that life, the Most High, gonna throw at us to see how we pull together, whether we pull together or not. That's how our love for one another is measured. That is what the Bible calls a man laying down his life for his friend. That means now your motive is no longer about just you. Your objective no longer is to serve your own purpose or your own will toward yourself. The first thing on the forefront of your mind is the body. How can I help the body meet its needs? That's how we lay down our life for our friends. And then we know our friends are those that hear the word of Christ. Christ even told the apostles that ye are my friends as long as you do whatsoever I commanded thee. Which means, yes, our friendship is conditional. That's exactly it. No such thing as unconditional love. If love was truly unconditional, then we'd be in the kingdom still rocking, our old Hebrew and everything. Why? Because the Most High wouldn't have gave a damn about what we did, because his love was unconditional. He wouldn't have cared about all the sacrificing of the babies. He wouldn't have cared about all of the idolatry. He wouldn't have cared about all of the extortion and everything that the priesthood had descended to, because his love would have been unconditional. But his love is highly conditional. It's conditional only.
Yeah, that's true.
It's conditional only. And then the conditions are written in Deuteronomy chapter 28. If you obey me, these blessings, but if you disobey me, these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee. So that means what condition now? We didn't fulfill the condition that brought about wrath. We didn't fulfill the condition that provoked the Most High's anger to abhor us. So now how do we fulfill the condition to what? To earn his favor and his protection and his provision, meaning him providing for us, him blessing the work of our hands. When we lay down our life for one another. And in doing so, we also bear what it says, bearing about the dying of the Lord in our body. That's what the suffering is about. That's what always having to deal with your backache or messed up hip or strained muscle or just being extremely damn exhausted. That's how Christ felt and worse going, to the cross for us. So there's a scripture that lets you know that our suffering is how we go about in experiencing the dying of the Lord in our body. That we also can be what? Be the vessels through whom his life. I'll get it. It's like it's 2 Corinthians chapter 4. Yeah.
2 Corinthians 4:10. I got you.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I figured that. So go ahead and read verse 7 again, Philippians 2 and 7 from the top again.
Philippians 2 and 7. But made himself of no reputation, and took upon him the form of a servant, and was made in the likeness of men.
Go ahead.
And being found in fashion as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient unto death, even the death of the cross.
Check that out. And so that's now it's the same for us, but what do we become dead to? We become dead to all the ideas and all the plans and all the expectations and all the aspirations that we thought we might have had for this world, for our life before we got introduced to Christ. So we have to relinquish this idea of and let me say this, we should become the spearheads of being the example of what it is to be a servant, man. That's why it was so important where verse 7 said, and made of himself no reputation. That's a plague in Israel. You guys know that. That's a plague in Israel. It's so much, it's a plague so much so that, I've seen videos of one group arguing against another group, and one group finally saying F so-and-so to this elder, and another one said, well, F your elder and F you too. But I go to show he was so offended by the dude saying F your elder,
Yeah, that's crazy.
but it ain't even about him. But see that's the mentality. Oh, I'm gonna really serve this nigga blow. I'm gonna say F his leader. And so he said it. And listen, and the brother was so carnal, it hit him just like the brother wanted him to hit him. So he had to retaliate with what meant the most to him. F your leader. And F you too. That's what he told him, right? And these is Israelites, garments up, fringes. Both of them talking about, I ain't afraid to go to war. We all, but the so-and-so, we all about going to war against one another, clearly. Yeah. That's not what we, so you listen, I dare anybody, I challenge anybody to try to convince me that that's Christ-like. Show me where that's how Christ operated. Because I can show you the people that did roll like Christ. Like Stephen. When they attacked Stephen, Stephen's last words when they were stoning him was what? Lay this not to their charge. Just basically what Christ said on the cross. Forgive them for they know not what they do. That's the zone. That's how he was in it for the love of the people. He understood. The people don't know, but they need this. And so he was in it for what Christ was in it for. Serving the people.
Huh.
Okay. Is that the end of verse 8?
God, it says, even unto the cross.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Go from there to 1 John in the back. 1 John chapter 3. 1 John chapter 3. And we're going to actually read from verses 14 to 22.
1 John chapter 3, verse 14 through 22. We know that we have passed from death unto life because we love the brethren.
Oh, so what are we being measured by? The love of one another. And when we demonstrate that love that we have for one another, it says that we have passed from death to life. That means the life of Christ and the death of the old brother and sister that we were. But remember now, this is a love that is measured by your works.
Huh.
This is a love that is measured by you being, we'll get into that, literally inconvenienced for one another. It's like any other marriage. The love of that union isn't measured by good times. Yes, you're going to stay together, but the true love, the magnitude, the depth, the breadth, the width, the height of the love is measured through what? Through hard times.
Yeah.
You know, through hard times. I was listening to this one song. Well, George Duke did an interpretation of this French guy's song called "The Times We've Known." It's a ballad piano we do. This is clearly before George Duke passed away. But the words, man, I was like, that's some cold stuff. He's just talking about the time. The name of the song is "The Times We've Known," right? And it's something where if you take them lyrics and apply it to us collectively toward Yahweh Shai for what he's done, toward the Most High for having loved us enough to send Christ to do what he did for us, to the Christ for having followed through and been obedient unto death, for having come. And that's how he came and served us. Remember, Christ said in the Gospels, the Son of Man have not come to be ministered unto, but to minister unto many and to give his life as a ransom. That was the service that he provided to us. We're the beneficiaries of that act, of that deed. That's how he served us. Think about that. So we know that when we do the same, we've passed from the activities, from the mind, from the speech of death to that of life. That means the Most High have destined us now for life. Read it again from the top, verse 14.
1 John 3:14. Now we know that we have passed from death unto life, because we love the brethren. He that loveth not his brother abideth in death.
Hey, listen, Akin, that's cold. Because me coming up as a young man, how did I demonstrate my love? I demonstrated my love through my servitude in the capacity of a young up-and-coming servant, a soldier, a trooper, right? They didn't have troopers when I got in, but that would come later. But as a young student, and then passing on to soldiership, passing on to officership, passing on to being a teacher, and all the way to being a steward. The love that I have for the Most High and the brothers was demonstrated and is still being demonstrated in that. Now, the fact that you go through that, you're still not only being measured for what you do, you're also being measured for the mentality in which you do it. That's why we read Philippians chapter 2 and verse 5. Remember, it said, let this mind be in you, which was also in Christ. Meaning, how are you going through this begrudgingly? I mean, we're going to actually read that. We're coming back here, but I made a statement. The service that we render, it is just as important for us to be in the right frame of mind, in the right spirit, in the right disposition as it is to go through the process. In other words, doing it isn't good enough. We have to want to do it. And I'm going to show you that. Let's go to 1 Corinthians. We're coming back here. Go to 1 Corinthians chapter 9. Because this is what got me through my day. It's still what gets me through my day. You know, back when I was a young man, not pushing 60 like I am now, back when I was having to do all the lugging and the carrying and the driving and all the nights and the hours, this is what got me through. 1 Corinthians chapter 9. I hope I didn't get the wrong one. Let me get there real quick. Yes, it is. Start off at verse 6. You're going to read verse 16 and 17. All right. 1
Corinthians chapter 9, verse 16 and 17. For though I preach the gospel, I have nothing to glory of.
Now stop. This goes back to what? It goes back to Philippians 2:7, where it says Christ made of himself no reputation. This is us now. Though we preach the gospel, we ain't got nothing to glory of. It's not our gospel. It's the Most High's gospel through Christ. All we are attributed biblically, if we abide in it, is being what? Those that keep the commandments of the Lord and those that have the testimony of Christ. That's what we have. This ain't ours. We're not the writers. We're not the authors. It tells you Christ is the author and finisher of our faith. So though we teach the gospel, this ain't about what? Uplifting ourselves. This is not about receiving any type of accolade or recognition. Go ahead.
For necessity is laid upon me. Yet woe is unto me if I preach not the gospel.
Right. Necessity. We got to do this. When it says necessity, number one, because we've been called.
No.
We need to do this. But number two, why? Because this is what the Lord said he chose how to do it. The scriptures say the Most High chose the foolishness of teaching, the foolishness of preaching. Because why? Because he could have easily just blew on us down on the earth. Everybody would have felt a little tingle in their spine. Brains would have been all filled and activated. And then voila, Israel and all of the innumerable multitudes is awake. But that ain't what the Most High chose. The scriptures say the Heavenly Father chose the foolishness of preaching. So that means if we don't do this, who else is he going to use? The Arabs ain't going to wake us up. Well, it says necessity is laid upon me. We need to do this. Woe is unto me, meaning destruction, calamity, hardship is unto me if I preach not the gospel. In other words, our lives depend on this. Our safety is what? Is conditional to us performing the will of the Most High. Now you say, Kyle, you be exaggerating. Well, let's see what happened to all these cats that's out there that's not in the truth. They're already dropping like flies from taking the vaccine. Young ass people developing heart attacks. I was listening to an interview a couple of days ago with I forgot what state the sister was in, 19 years old in the university, went to I think she got the first shot, went back and got the second, called her daddy from her dorm. I ain't feeling so good. And she had to have a damn a heart transplant and still died after the transplant. It's causing all type of blood clotting. If the blood clots in the brain, that's a stroke. If the blood clots in any other part of the body, it makes its way through circulation to the heart. That's a heart attack. It's so much so that the Russian and Spanish government, Spain, have announced if you have received any of them shots, do not travel, do not fly, because it's known to give people blood clots. So the point is, this is real. Necessity. Woe is unto us if we don't teach not the gospel. What's keeping us from being them people? Because we're in here teaching the gospel and serving one another. Those that are not destined to come here, they're going to die some type of death, y'all. And it had already started. Big time, huh? There's a source of information called VAERS, where it's like the vaccine event report something, meaning of all the adverse of events. And the norm is that whatever is reported is only 10 or 1% of what is really happening. And the damn thing is already in the thousands. It's literally tens, 20s, and hundreds of thousands of people that are already severely adversely affected and dead. You got babies sucking the breast milk of their mothers who were vaccinated and dying.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck is, excuse my language, you know what's, they ain't report nothing in the news. So how fortunate are we to be here aware of that? How fortunate of her. I remember when the thing first started, it was a kind of like a wrestle, a struggle trying to get y'all out your mask in the classroom. Y'all remember when this shit first started? Back in the beginning, March of 2020? Because what? Nobody was clear on it yet. It was the new level that Esau went into. And you see, I told y'all back then, he ain't coming out of this, is he? Right now, there's a de facto civil war between governors that are not doing that. Florida, Texas, and Dakota, North Dakota, I think South Dakota, Wisconsin, not Wisconsin, another one, Montana, Idaho. These cats are like outlawing it. They're outlawing enforcing mask mandates and making the COVID shot mandatory. Versus the governors of the states that's all behind it and racking up the deaths. So the Most High, listen, I'm just giving you some examples of what it meant when it says, woe is unto me if I teach not the gospel. That means we're out there. That means we're what? We're marked for death. We just read that. So this is how we demonstrate our love. But what? But we can't just be going through the motions. We have to learn to love what we do. The scriptures tell you in Ecclesiastes chapter 6, it says she is unpleasant to the unlearned. So of course, making our transition out of the world and into this lifestyle for however many years it takes is telling us it's designed to be unpleasant to the unlearned. So that means what? We need to learn more. The more we know, the more pleasant it becomes. So much so that Christ said, come, all of you that are heavy laden, come unto me, and I will give thee rest. For my burden is, take of my yoke. My burden, he said, my yoke is easy, my burden is light. So why are we catching hell? Because of your mentality. Why is this so hard and demanding? Because of what's on the inside of you, if it is. I'm not gonna lie, it took me about 2 years and I was broken. I've been loving it ever since. Maybe it was less than a year. I got broke in New York. So it was less than a year and 3 months. Within that period, the Most High, I had to ask myself, if this is what you're gonna do, are you gonna do this thing begrudgingly? Are you gonna be in this level, in this line of work, and this level of servitude, and be doing it reluctantly or from the wrong spirit at a distance from the brother, needing your own time and space? And I finally said, no, if I'm doing this, I'm gonna go all up into this. And literally, it took about maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and then that spirit was gone and have been gone. And this has been the greatest thing. And I've suffered all types of loss. Y'all know that. I had 8 children and only know 4 of them. The other 4 probably hate my guts. I wouldn't know. I have grandchildren that I don't know. But this has been the opportunity of a lifetime. Which one? The new one. And that mentality. And I had to accept and then embrace what Christ meant when he told his own brothers and sisters, who is my mother? Who are my brothers and sisters? Then he said, he stretched forth his hands to the apostles and said, behold, my brothers and sisters, for everyone that heareth and doeth the work of the Lord, the same as my mother, the same as my brother, and the same as my sister. So I have my family. I'm looking at my family. I have family in California. I got family everywhere with the Israelites so that I've worked with. I got family. Whether they'll have me or not, everyone that's in the truth that I haven't worked with is my family. I don't got to know you. Christ said it. He said, everyone that heareth and doeth the work of my Father, the same is my mother, my brother, my sister. Of course, we know in Matthew chapter 23 and 9, he said, call no man which is on the earth your father. So go ahead. What verse you at?
Verse 17.
Continue.
For if I do this thing willingly,
If I what?
for if I do this thing willingly,
Go ahead.
I have a reward.
Your reward is contingent upon the frame of mind that you're in while you're doing this. Your disposition of servitude, if it is willing. If you do, let it speak for itself. Go ahead.
But if against my will, a dispensation of the gospel is committed unto me.
The term dispensation means a predetermined time, a predetermined amount of time. If you're doing this against your will, then the Most High is going to use you for a predetermined amount of time to get somebody else in. Then you're done. Only a dispensation of the gospel was committed to you for your what? For your unwillingness. Now, why did I go here? To show you that we are being measured by serving one another and our disposition. What are these dispositions? Meaning where we are in our mind. So we found out in Philippians, this ain't about us. That's what Philippians chapter 2 shows. Where what? Where Christ made not a reputation of himself. So this ain't about me. This ain't about me getting known for anything. This ain't about me being recognized by brothers who the Most High used me to teach the scriptures. I'm not teaching my book. I ain't teaching nothing I wrote. I don't care how, whatever brothers call, how clear or how deep or whatever they be looking for, it ain't mine. The insight that I might offer on it doesn't come from me. It comes from the Most High in Christ, combined with the years of experience, so that I actually be able to see something in it. So this is how we measure, or I should say, our love for one another, that we go back to 1 John, is measured. And this, under these conditions, is when we abide in the light. If we, quote, are walking and going through the motions of our servitude, but doing so in our heart unwillingly, then you haven't came from the darkness to the light yet, because you really don't love. What did the scripture say? It says brotherhood, brotherly love, unfeigned. Unfeigned, the term feigned means faked, pretended, acting. So the love unfeigned has to be measured, whether it's true or not. And the extremes that broken adults take each other through, you have to really love one another. This ain't something that you can fake. Y'all know that. This ain't what you guys are under with the work and in the class and being raised up to be teaching and the mad ass working hours. Who can fake that, y'all? You can't fake that. Because it's only a matter of time before I'll be me.
Yeah,
and it shows you how hateful it is, because we'll go out and work 2 jobs and 3 jobs by ourselves for Esau, for our own selfish means. Think about that. Because that's where I came from. I came from working 2 and 3 jobs. Go back and read that. First John, read verse 14 again, chapter 2. It's chapter 3 and verse 14. I'm sorry.
3 and 14, 1 John. We know that we have passed from death unto life, because we love the brethren. He that loveth not his brother abideth in death.
So that means the love that we have is the service that we are rendered to one another in the proper spirit, which is that of a servant, not to be recognized for what we're doing, to be doing it willingly, because we can still be going through all the motions, but still be what? Getting hurt because nobody recognized me for my thing. I didn't get no recognition. I didn't do this for rank. Literally. That's why nobody in that room knows my rank, because I ain't doing it for rank. I relinquished that decades, I can say, ago. It ain't about the we. Now, what I'm saying, of course, the system, I'm not poo-pooing on the system. I'm just telling you what from the beginning. I wasn't into it while I was in New York. That wasn't my thing. I didn't spend enough time in New York to get, I got literally all of my, everything after my second test, after the priest test, I got it on the road. Everything. But it was behind doing the work. And then the truth of the matter, I enrolled like the apostles. Christ told the apostles, whoever is greatest among you, he's going to be the servant. So that's what I am. That's the mentality. That's what's been our success. And so the Most High will put us in these circumstances to measure our servitude. This is what turns us into servants. So we'll have a steward. When the Most High speak of an unjust steward, the Most High speak of a slothful steward, the Most High speak of a good steward, the Most High speak of a reliable. We're going to experience all. How do you guys learn, brothers, how to be responsible? By having a good and responsible shepherd, steward, teacher, call them what you want. But how do you learn how not to be? That's just as important. What type of steward not to be? What type of decisions not to make? What type of thinking to avoid? What type of practices to abstain from? You got to learn that too. And you guys just got through doing it, whether you know it or not. And so while the Most High had you under that unproductive steward, he was still measuring you. You still got to do what's right. Don't worry, the Most High got him. The Most High got that brother. But what about you? What about all the lessons that I showed you with David? This is what he's going to ask, this is what Christ is going to expect of him. Because we've been called to suffer affliction. The minute we get it, we want to blame it on whoever. We want to blame it on the steward. We want to blame it on the teacher. We want to blame it on the priest. No, you could blame it on the Most High, because he's the one that said he's going to bring you what? The affliction. It's just you wouldn't take yourself deep enough and get the rooting and get the fortitude that was needed to endure it. That means you didn't have faith like you tried to make people think. Because that's how faith is measured. Through storms, through fire, through floods, through abandonment, through betrayal, through theft, through it all. That's how the Most High said, but do he believe in me? What does that man's disobedience have to do with the veracity of my word? Absolutely nothing, but showing you what? Giving you the opportunity to measure the works of darkness within the midst of the light. Giving you the opportunity to see the scriptures come to light. What the scriptures say, some of them, there will be days where many will come and make merchandise of you. And they'll be like ravaging wolves. We got to experience all of it. That's what's going to make the teacher. That's what's going to make the soldier. Okay, I'll continue. Verse 15 one more time.
Verse 14, right?
15.
15. Whosoever hated his brother is a murderer.
So let me say this. You're going to have murderers among you, and they will have not shed any blood. They will have murdered the spirit that was designed to come up in you and be brought to fruition. That's what people don't get it. Because remember, he said, hey, so listen, let's just use our scriptural thinking now. If Christ said no greater love hath a man than this, than that he laid down his life for his friends, right?
Yeah.
Then what is the person that have this knowledge and won't do it, and won't put the friends first, and won't put the body first, and won't put the needs of the congregation first? What is that but the opposite of love, which is hatred? That's exactly what it is. No greater hate hath a man against his brother than he that knows and has been called to teach and refuses to lay down his life for the sheep. That's in the book of John as well. That's a hireling. Think about that. Christ said, I'm the good shepherd, but a hireling He won't go and lay his life down for the sheep. And that comes in poor stewardship. That manifests itself in the form of, why do I say this, y'all? Because you guys are the ones being raised up to be this. There's a phrase that is almost wrong to describe the trajectory of an Israelite man like that. I was going to say the higher you go. But the truth of the matter is, yes, I'm a Yapi.
I was looking up murder in the etymology dictionary and it says,
Listen, come closer to the mic because I want to hear it because it's muffled a little bit. Just to read, make your point.
I was reading in the etymology dictionary, murder, secret killing of a person.
Say that again, read it again.
Secret killing of a person.
Secret, right?
Huh.
Go ahead.
Oh, that's all.
That's cold. Now let me say this. There's another scripture that tells you what happens, like when the Most High blessed the congregation, when the Most High blesses the school, and the allocation of the funds and resources is not just, don't you know the scriptures say, he that keepeth back his money from a laborer is as a bloodshedder? Huh. Brothers don't know what they was doing while they was in that seat and misallocating funds. Huh? Matter of fact, can you find that one in the Apocrypha? Yeah. It's in Ecclesiasticus. So why are we going here? Because we need to know how, we need to clearly define our servitude. We need to clearly define, what do you think the term minister means, y'all? And ministry. Minister is a servant. Ministry is his service or servitude that he performs, his duty. I'm looking forward to it. If you got it, call it out.
It's 34 and 22.
Let's go to Ecclesiastes in the Apocrypha, chapter 34. We might end up reading a little bit above that. Hold up. Chapter what again?
34, chapter 34 and verse 22.
Okay, thank you. Chapter 34.
Verse 21 goes into a
prayer. Yeah, that's why I was saying we're going to read a little bit above it. Go ahead, Dawiyat, and read that.
Ecclesiasticus 34 and verse 21. The bread of the needy is their life. He that defraudeth him thereof is a man of blood. And that's why the shepherds that be, listen, that's why you have to learn hard work so that when you come up and are in charge of bringing up men and making sure that the needs are being met, that you have that in mind. You know what it is that you work for. You know how much that what you made meant to you. This is why it's so important about the steward, and the Most High bring that money. And so when it says the bread of the needy is their life, that's y'all, that's us. We got no big bank accounts. We live week to week, and sometimes, and listen, and we're always behind. You guys know that. We're always got some project where the school come first. That's how you show your servitude. You're showing your love for brothers who you don't even know who's coming yet. There has to be a strong standing place, what? For men that and families that are to come. So to withhold that's a cold statement. The bread of the needy is their life. He that defraudeth him thereof is a man of blood. And that's why it's so, listen, and this ain't talking about, this is talking about us. This is talking about the shepherds. That's why the Most High would refer to the Pharisees. Christ came as bloody and hypocrites. The woe to the bloody city, full of extortion. Isaiah chapter 59, great declaration against Israel and its evil, and swift to see innocent blood shed. Always got some type of scam. Always got some way of finagling money and what the younger men need. I saw this over and over and over. This is the curse of Israel. Among the many curses, we get blessed and we fixate on the blessing
instead of focusing on what was being done that brought about the blessing, and then and just taking that to the next level. You know, the Most High will keep the funds. The Most High will keep the blessing coming in if you're doing what's proper with it. And this is showing you, if you don't, you are a bloodshedder. Read on down,
Verse 22. He that taketh away his neighbor's living slayeth, and he that defraudeth the laborer of his hire is a bloodshed.
Not, listen, not is as a bloodshedder. This is a bloodshedder. Now, who's in the position to do that, y'all? The stewards. I ain't gonna lie to you, because this is what you've been raised up to be, stewards and shepherds. And so the phrase that I was struggling with, the higher you go, the phrase is the higher you go, the lower you go. I can show you that in the scriptures. Matter of fact, go to chapter 3, Ecclesiastes chapter 3. The higher you go, now what do I mean when I say that? In experience, in rank, right? In years, the lower you go. That means the more of a servant, you're responsible for more. You have to answer to more. You have to give an account for the estate of more. Read that verse. What is it? Is that verse 21? Chapter 3 and verse 21?
God, it says, see out there. Oh, verse 20, verse 20. Honor of the lowly, is that it?
No, okay, then let me get there. Hold up. It's in there.
Yeah, it's verse 8.
Verse 18.
Ecclesiasticus 3 and 18. The greater thou art, the more humble thyself, and thou shalt find favor before the Lord.
See that? So the greater you are, you don't take on the greater mantle, man. You don't take on the greater. You don't allow yourself to be applauded and receive accolades from the students. You're supposed to stamp that out. Every time you turn around, this person did this, and my commanding so-and-so, and my priest said, they ain't about them. They didn't die for you. They're going to end up dying because of your ass, but they ain't died for you. The greater thou art, the more humble thyself. I just said the higher you go, the lower you go. And what happens as a result? And thou shalt what?
Find favor before the Lord.
That's how you find the Most High's favor. And you're responsible for keeping yourself in check. Somebody pay you all these, okay, thank you, but you know what? This is about Yahweh Shai. I didn't write this book. I'm not sharing anything that I didn't learn. I wasn't born with any of this. Think about that. That's why I do like that with myself. That's to keep me in check. I'm responsible for keeping me in check in my own eyes and in yours. Then the Most High gives us a little help, like it tells you. Paul said, lest I should be esteemed above measure, the Most High sent to Satan a messenger to buffet me, so that people wouldn't see you as more than what you are, so that you don't allow that. Those of us that don't take that active practice to keep ourselves humble will fall. So that means, what is this telling us? In every aspect, we're supposed to fight and struggle to stay in the capacity of a servant. Because the minute we try to make it a point to ascend beyond that, then we start what? Becoming presumptuous. We start beginning to afford to ourselves these privileges. And I could do this because I'm on this level. That's what happened there. Y'all know that. It's the presumptuous nature why I can, because I'm on this level. I'm the teacher. I can do this. I'm in charge. I can put a little bit more over to myself. Read on down. You're still here.
Verse 19. Many are in high place and of renown, but mysteries are revealed unto the meek.
See that? The Most High be giving them mysteries, man. And them mysteries that when you learn them and when you can share them, they make the difference. Not some old Israelite nigga shit. You know, just, brother, Israel is descending out. That's all I can tell you. Israel is, we're losing them all. And that's why well, these lessons is, I'm gonna hammer and hammer and hammer away at servitude. The only people that ain't gonna be listening, and whether they stream it or not, is gonna be those that ain't into being a servant and get bored and go. Goodbye. And we're reading the scriptures. Read on down. Give me another one.
Verse 20. For the power of the Lord is great, and he is honored of the lowly.
And he is honored of the lowly. Now, guess what lowly means? Did we go through this? We went and read lowly. Lowly is of a low self-esteem. We went and read that. Remember, we read that when Christ said, take of my yoke, for I am lowly. And we went and read that and it said of low self-esteem. And see, Esau will tell you that that's like a sickness to suffer, or he has a low self-esteem, which means he didn't think much of himself. But we're not supposed to. How highly of yourself can you think when you had to be taught how to eat? That's how much of a nothing we are. That we didn't even know how to distinguish. We use everything, taste for everything. Taste, oh, it tastes good. So we'll eat the shrimp, crab, and lobster. Manure of the ocean, meaning that's what they eat. Pigs. That's how off we are, that we have to be taught how to eat. The men got to be taught, literally, our brother's going to come into the doors and you're going to have to say, pull your damn pants up, get a belt, and make sure it stays up around your waist. You might want to see the crevice of your buttocks. But you would think that they would have acquired that, but clearly they didn't. We got to teach men how to dress. We got to teach women how to dress. We got to teach women the value of their bodies. So how do we come in and expect now to get all of this recognition and make a reputation of ourselves when it isn't even, when this transformation isn't of our own doing? Think about that. We didn't know how to just one day get our act together and clean up. Okay, let's go back to, thank you. Go back to 1 John again and read verse 15 one more time and move on.
1 John,
Go ahead.
chapter 3, verse 15. Whosoever hateth his brother is a murderer, and ye know that no murderer hath eternal life abiding in him.
See that? So a lot of us, that's why I said this is so scary, because how you assume your servitude, your preparation for service, how you operate in the capacity of a servant in training, that mentality is going to spill over. It's going to accompany you once your servitude conducts you to stewardship, meaning now being responsible for something. You're going to maintain the same mentality. The only difference is among the lower, or let's say the levels where not much is required, it's easier to hide those things because you're not in a position where you're responsible for a whole lot and have to answer for the estate of so many things. And so if through deception, you can make your way to the top, which is what happened there, those negative qualities, that hate of the brotherhood that manifests itself as selfishness, that manifests itself as pride, that manifests itself as lust. That's how you hate the brothers, because who you end up lusting after? the women among you, their wives, your sisters. This has happened there, y'all. You know me, I'm not into teaching because then I wouldn't survive in class dealing with no hypothetical stuff. We got enough real things that you got to be made aware of, because the real things is what you got to defend yourself from. The real things is what you got to be vigilant for, not no hypothetical stuff. So that's what we're reading. That's all of what you saw over the years, almost 20, was what? Was deception, y'all. But it wasn't deception if you were actually looking through actions. If you were following words, then of course it was deception. But if you were looking at how the men were being treated, how much time was being spent to invest in the men, were they being brought up to what? To be able to endure the fires to come? Because remember, that's 1 Corinthians chapter 3. Every man's work shall be made what? Manifest, because the day shall declare it by fire. So I'm supposed to prepare you for the fire. I'm supposed to be whispering sweet nothings into your ear. I'm not supposed to be placating you and telling you what you want to hear. I'm assuming you want to hear the word of the Lord, because that's all I have to offer. And then, like the scripture said in Ezekiel, whether they hear or whether they forbear, you tell them the word of the Lord, because that's what prepares you for what's coming. You take the fact that that wasn't being done. Not only was that not being done, but the agent of war who was doing it that way and others were being kept from doing it. Listen, this is where the three-way division came in the camp, in the congregation. I'm trying to help you all understand, how does hatred manifest itself among a congregation of Israelites that know the truth? And it manifests itself in dereliction of duty. It manifests itself in knowing what to do and not doing it, being constrained by others to do it and refusing it. And in the midst of all of that, taking advantage for the weak and decrepit and underdeveloped state that you have exercised the congregation into. That's how hatred for the brothers, because why do I say all of that where it's not written? Well, to have done the right thing is how we lay our life down. See, it has to be found in our actions. So once Christ had told us that no greater love hath a man than that he lay down his life for his friends, then we find out what it is to lay down our life. That means my day, when I wake up, it's literally about, okay, what do the congregation need? And how can what do I have to do to participate, to contribute to the congregation of getting what it needs? And this is why you're going to end up, in issues with your family, issues with your women, being estranged from your children, because you're putting the congregation together. And the wife don't know. She would get that if she's among the congregation. But see, she wants to be selfish with you. She wants you all to herself. But you ain't called for that. You're not called to be hers. You're called to be Christ. And so how do we make that distinction? How do we listen? Now all of a sudden we're in a circumstance where my woman wants more time and she's complaining about what the kids don't get from me. So that's one of the many ways in which you lay down your life for your friends, for the body. And so you have to justify that by the scriptures. And the scriptures say, no man that warreth entangleth themselves with the affairs of this life, that he might please him that have chosen him to be what? A good soldier. Then you go back to that third seed in Matthew chapter 13, and it tells you that was the problem with the third seed, the one that was dropped among thorns. It said that those thorns represented the cares of this world and the deceitfulness of riches. The cares of this world is all of the stuff that would pull you from the truth, that they feel you're being what? You're not giving them time. Now, I sat there and listened to the man that was over a war tell y'all in the whole congregation in the height of what? Of that so-called trial and tribunal. What were those words that were yet? You know my family comes first.
You know that my first love, and my first love is my family.
That's what he said. My first love is my family. Thank you for correcting me in those words, because that's what it was. Continue.
Everybody kind of had it. Nobody expected that.
Yeah. He can't listen, and the school was packed. It was brothers and sisters that ain't been there in a while because of him. And what did he say? He said, now you know my first love is my family. Now that's exactly the thing. Now hold on. Let me show you something. Go to Revelation chapter 2. We're going to come back to this. Let's not, well, you see how we dig it into what it means when it says, he that loveth his brother have passed from death to life, but he that hated his brother, well, you need to see, this is the problem. This is how we be hating one another and don't even know it. We be demonstrating, we have the option of demonstrating hatred or love toward one another in our service, in our office. And the Most High can see it, Christ can see it, but will you allow yourself to be made conscious, made aware of that? And this brother wouldn't. Go to chapter 2, I'm gonna get the verse, and start off at verse 2. No, go ahead and start off at verse 1. Revelation chapter 2 and verse 1. This is what Christ had an issue with one of the churches where John was writing to. This specific location was the church of Ephesus, where Paul was writing the letters to the Ephesians. This was that very same congregation. Go ahead and read that out.
Revelations 2 and 1. Unto the angel of the church of Ephesus write, these things saith he that holdeth the 7 stars in his right hand, who walketh in the midst of the 7 golden candlesticks. I know thy works, and thy labor, and thy patience, and how thou canst not bear them which are evil, and hast tried them which say they are apostles, and are not, and has found them liars.
So he's what? He's commending them for the good deeds, for the favorable, positive works that he's measured them for. Go ahead.
And has borne, and has patience, for my name's sake has labored, and has not fainted.
Go ahead.
Nevertheless, I have somewhat against thee, because thou hast left thy first love.
Now, what is he? We all know what he's making reference to. He's making reference to what? To the feeding of the flock. Now, how do we know that? Because that's what he kept hammering in Peter. When he came back, we resurrected, and before he left, what did he tell Peter? He said, Peter, lovest thou me? Yes, Lord, feed my sheep. Peter, son of Bar-Jonas, lovest thou me? Yes, Lord, feed my sheep. Peter, do you love? Peter said, Lord, you know I love you, you know everything. Christ just called me and said, feed my flock. So that's our first love, right? Is one another. So for a person, for a shepherd, a steward, after 18 years of presiding, to come back and say before the entire congregation, now you all know that my family is my first love. And then, like you said, Daryl, everybody kind of, it's all like a big old deep breath came. But you didn't need those words. You were already seeing that through the decisions made. You were already seeing that through the loss that was being suffered. You were already witnessing that through the what? Through the negligence. That's why I said, I'm not going to be using no damn fictitious shit. We have enough real stuff to really, why? Because then now, listen, now a war stands to be measured by the very same criteria. That's who's under the scope of the Spirit now. And his love for the brotherhood. whether he loves or hates the brotherhood is going to be manifested during the course of his ministry, of his servitude. This is how it is. Simple and plain. You don't have to be skipping and pussyfooting around issues in our history. That's how you tiptoe around it. That's how you end up doing the same thing, because nobody wants to address reality. It feels uncomfortable to be dealing with that, so let's just create some hypothetical shit that nobody can really identify with. All of that is how you what? You invite the negative spirits in, because you're inviting weakness. We got reality to deal with. That's what's preparing us for the war that we've been involved in since December of 1992 there in Texas. Reality. So that means to have love or put the work first means he would have laid down. So now what does that mean? Lay down your life. That means what? You're not the priority. You got to train your women and your children that they don't come first. They become the priority when the camp becomes the priority. Then when you start getting leaned on because of that and they don't like that, then let them go. The Most High will bring them in and break them, or they will break out and he'll get them later. That's the reality of it. Or he might save them later, and because you stayed in and was faithful, you done saved your whole family. You don't know that. That's in 1 Corinthians chapter 7. The unbelieving wife is clean by the believing man, and vice versa. The unbelieving man is clean by the believing woman. Won't you let the Most High work the things out that you got no control over, and you come and give him what he expect and demand of you? That's how we do it. That's how I lay down my life for my friends, for my brothers and sisters, for my family in Christ, by putting my duties to the body before anything else, even myself. Now, we got that. Let's go on back to chapter. What, let me see that. No, yeah, read that one more time. I want you to read all the way down. Read verse 4 again, and verse 4 and 5, and then we're done.
Revelation chapter 2, verse 4 and 5. Nevertheless, I have somewhat against thee, because thou hast left thy first love.
Go ahead.
Remember, therefore, from whence thou art fallen.
So that means when we get into a habit, whether a physical habit, whether our mind, whether our words, where the congregation is not first, my service, my obligation to the congregation is falling into second, that means I have fallen. That means I'm fallen. Nobody said, remember from whence thou art fallen. And repent, mean come back, change. Go ahead.
And do the first works.
Come back and feed my sheep. Come back and service my flock. Go ahead.
Or else I will come unto thee quickly, and will remove thy candlestick out of his place, except thou repent.
And so where is he now? Period, point blank. Because the Most High was not pleased. And brothers and sisters, don't be liking the manner through which the Most High purged, but that's the will of the Lord. And that's why the scriptures tell you that. That's why the Most High had Christ come, and Paul came and reinforced it, that every man's work, take heed. It says no other foundation can be laid than that which is already laid, which is Christ. But take heed how you build thereupon. Because the Most High's house, it says, are vessels of gold, silver, precious stones, wood, hay, and stubble. And whatever a man do, it shall be what? Made manifest, because the day shall declare it, and it shall be declared by fire. We have to prepare each other for the fire. We are investing gold in one another so as to what? Be the highest form of servant, the highest quality of instrument, of tool, of vessel that I could be for the use of the master. That's what this is about. Read on down. What that was it?
No.
Okay, let's go back to 1 John again. 1 John, read verse 15 one more time and then down into 16.
1 John 3 and 15. Whosoever hateth his brother is a murderer.
Now let me say this. So I went and showed y'all, I'm showing y'all how hatred is performed among us. Let me drink this water real quick. So this is how hatred is performed among us. By dereliction of duty, by neglect of the Most High's, neglecting the Most High's flock for our own personal endeavors, for our own personal will, for our own, whether carnal, whether financial. Some people just niggas want to just be by themselves.
Yeah.
That's selfish, and that's hatred. Read on down now. Let's prove it. Verse 16. Oh, did you finish 15?
I didn't finish 15, sir.
Go ahead.
It says, and ye know that no murderer hath eternal life abiding in him.
Man, so we better pray that these brothers get right. I hope they put those old carnal man shenanigans and selfish, greedy, evil, lustful practices behind them. Go ahead.
Hereby perceive we the love of the Most High.
Listen, so when it says perceive, meaning to recognize, to properly discern. This is how we perceive the love of the Most High. Go ahead.
Because he laid down his life for us.
Talking about Christ. Go ahead.
And we ought to lay down our lives for the brethren.
Boom. So what does that mean? Lay down our lives. That means that my existence is no longer about me. My presence on earth is no longer to what? To procure my own will, to perform my own will. That's all it is. It's as simple as that. Christ did it for us, so we ought to do it for the brothers. Herein is the love of the Most High perceived. That means if I don't do that, then I don't care what it is I'm doing. If I'm not doing that, I'm exercising or hatred toward the brothers. Because why? Because I know, I've been taught, I've been enlightened by the Most High. That's hatred. Read on down. Now listen, the verse with that, verse 16, that's John chapter 15, verse 12 and 13. Real quick, let's read that. Go to St. John chapter 15 and simply read verse 12 and 13.
St. John chapter 15, verse 12 and 13.
Uh-huh.
Okay. This is my commandment, that ye love one another.
Mm-hmm.
I have loved you. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends.
Go ahead.
Ye are my friends, if ye do whatsoever I command you.
So there you have it. You see that? That was the conditional love that I was speaking of earlier. Under obedience, we remain. This is when the Christians used to sing, "What a friend we have in Jesus." Shit, eating all that pork and committing all that adultery up in church, what make you think he's your friend? Christ says his friendship with you or with us is contingent upon our obedience to him. Okay, thank you for that. Let's go back to 1 John and read verse 16 one more time and then move on down.
1 John 3 and 16. 1 John 3 and 16. Hereby perceive we the love of the Most High, because he laid down his life for us. And we ought to lay down our lives for the brethren.
So that means, yeah, we could be doing other things. There are opportunities that come, but you have to see those opportunities that if they pull you away from your responsibilities and from you being able to grow into your responsibilities to the congregation, then those so-called opportunities are distractions. Those are the cares of the world. Those are distractions that either use the bait that the Most High described, the cares of the world, or the deceitfulness of riches. It be about time that you want to spend doing something else, or some opportunity of making money. And so that become the priority now. That's that third seed that fell among thorns, to where those distractions and that deceit, the illusion of money have what? Have choked the word and made you unfruitful, meaning it is competing for your time and your service, your attention in the truth. That's what that's saying. So that's what this is telling us. Go ahead.
But whoso hath this world's good, and seeth his brother have need, and shutteth up his bowels of compassion from him, how dwelleth the love of the Most High in him?
So to have been a steward and to have had all of the personal things, to have had all of, and then to watch the brother's house in need, to see the school gone, to see the business deteriorating, not even allowing the developing brothers to bring ideas to what? To bolster the provision for everybody else. That is what? Well, we read it right here. That's hatred. That's why he says, what does that verse mean? But whoso hath this world's good, that means you have what? Money. That means you have material wealth. That's the good of this world. It's a material world. And seeth his brother hath need, and shutteth up his bowels of compassion from him. Meaning you see your brothers, you see it. Now listen, this is just not some brother. Yes.
One thing also is the world's good is the resources and the time.
All resources, exactly.
Resources. And then it's like seeing your brother have need, and I'll make the decisions, the right decisions, the right time, and the right moves. Because I really don't care. It affects the people that try to bring the resources. So the resources are trying to come, but look, brothers were making bread. I don't know why. Brothers were producing. There was production.
I know.
All washed, like it was crazy. It was all washed weird directions. $10,000 cameras. Bought a camera for $10,000. Like, listen, bro, we never filmed a show. We filmed like maybe 3 shows with a $10,000 camera. But men were like in a bad scenario, bro.
Now listen, that's why I said we have to take the lessons that the Bible is showing us, and we have to apply them to the paradigm that we've that's what works for us. That's what makes the lesson more tangible. That's what makes the lesson, that's what makes you be able to grasp it. But if we're gonna play games and tiptoe around what happened and then not deal
Yeah, there's no sound. Oh,
Yeah.
okay. We'll come back. That's his name.
What scripture did you go to before?
St. John 15, verse 12 through 14.
St. John 15, verse 1 through
Yeah,
4.
Bible. Yeah, read like that.
15, verse 1 through 4. St. John chapter 15, verse 1 through 4.
Oh, 12 through 14. So
Something like that. Go with that.
this is the best one, bro. This is the best one.
It is.
For reading in class?
With the side of notes.
Yeah, 20. There's a $20 in Amazon. Perfect for reading, bro. You won't. Hey, brother, we want to play some.
No, I got 20.
Read garbage. Can you garbage read?
I got it right here. Read.
Oh, still going? Oh, the camera's going up, but it's
Yeah,
not.
but he
Yeah.
has to come back.
Yeah. All right. He'll pop back up. You gotta go in there. I see you got a chain, man. You always got a chain on, man. Clean with it. Cowboy. Oh, he's a dancer. His chain is really, he's crazy. Anyways, I'm gonna go into this is the one. The read purchases. Perfect size and everything. Clear. See, that font is a little too small, but it kind of makes it strange. You know? We'll find out. We'll find out what's close. Where's your pen, bro? Thank you, sir. Oh, we got a free copy. Ooh. Earthbird. Thank you. We will definitely eat some Earthbird. All right. You got it right?
I gotta go give my granddaughter something to me. Sorry.
Yeah.
Shalom, shalom.
We might have to start this over, man.
You still rolling.
It's rolling, but yeah. I don't know if it's our side or his side.
That is the last.
Yeah, you need to help the homie out, bro. I know you know this technical stuff, man. Hey, Kawakab popped off the camera. It froze. I thought it was him, like taking, like his computer was tripping out or something like that. And you know, it's still rolling though. YouTube's still going. But you know, I don't know if it's the storm of Guatemala or what's going on, but you should pop on. We've been on for about 3 minutes, 3.5. I mean, after to pull out. Amiat and tomorrow. Amiat, no, Amiat is I guess he's taking care of some business, so he'll be on tomorrow. So it's me. I'm reading for Kawakab right now, so trying to get this right because you know. But I don't know if he got bumped off and we had to open it up again. Do I resume it? Something like that? Or press Zoom right now. Zoom. Yeah. Yeah, man. Yeah, call him up. You can. Rock him so. Technical difficulties at the moment. Getting fixed. It's right, got it? Yeah, technical situation, so it's getting fixed. Yeah, I think it's some kind of storm or something.
Looks like
We good?
All right, we're back. Cool, we're back online.
What
All right.
happened? That was my internet that went out. We got a storm out here, you know?
Okay, perfect. Also, I thought it was a storm. We like froze up.
Okay. What verse was that we were at? No, we were talking about, what I'm trying to show you is when the scriptures talk about hatred, it's not just the outwardly hatred that we have when we come out of the world and into the truth, that type of worldly hatred. I'm talking about a hatred that's a little bit more, that requires a little bit more vigilance, that requires knowledge of the scriptures to be able to understand. But it's not difficult. Yes.
This is my question, because you know how the Most High's time is a lot slower. Like to us,
That's where I was going. Go ahead.
to us it's moving fast. And like, you know, sometimes I'll be thinking like the little things that we were doing is not that significant because, you know.
Hold on real quick, God. This is a war. Yeah, brother Shalom. Uh-oh. I can't hear him.
He was checking on me.
Okay, yeah, okay. I'm gonna let him know I'm back. Okay, go ahead, Doc.
Sometimes I think it's scary. What's the scary part is the little things that add up over time, like maybe over like a 5-year period or 2-year period or 1-year period or maybe a 10-year period. He judges us for the little small things that build up. You think of something like that, as far as is that the hate you're talking about? I'm trying to understand that from you.
No, okay. When you say hold on, man. I gotta tell her what I already told him I'm in class. Okay, you're trying to listen up. Go to, I'm trying to show us, it says, first let's use what we've just read in John chapter 15 and verse 13 and John chapter 15 verse 12 and 13 in conjunction with 1 John chapter 3 and verse 16. I'm going to read 1 John chapter 3 and verse 16. Hereby perceive we the love of the Most High, because he laid down his life for us, is speaking of Christ. And we ought to lay down our lives for the brethren. So what I'm trying to show you, if that is how the love of the Most High is defined and recognized, then we got to go and find out what are those actions that define me laying down my life. And it simply means putting the needs. Listen, let's do this. Go to putting the needs of you. Let's speak from my position. You guys come first. The congregation come first. The needs. That means now how would I delegate that? How would I bring that to fruition? Back in the day, when I got back to Texas, we were living in that place on Commerce. You guys might know where it is, East Commerce, that was called the Sweatbox. That building probably not even there anymore. It's a condemned building when we were living in. And so the objective wasn't for me to get out and get a nice place. But when I got there, that's how it was with the elders that we had left in charge. All of the 3 elders had nice homes with their women and kids, and the brothers was crammed up into a place that they themselves called the Sweatbox. And it was horrible condition. The beds was all made of, bunk beds made of wood. So when I got there, I slept with them. We had 2 showers for like 16 men. The one shower was in the back where myself and Zion and Bonabad stayed on planks of wood. And then you had the other area. So you guys don't know this because you wasn't there. I can't even describe it and know that your Shamshawan didn't even see it. When Shamshawan came in, we had already, Shamshawan came in right on the end of us at the end of the campaign that resulted in the purchasing of the school and the men's home. So he didn't even catch that wave. It was horrible. So the first thing we did was, okay, we got to get out of this. This is how we got the house over in Windcrest. I didn't have no place to stay. The brothers, they all had their rooms. It was a 6-bedroom home with a nice swimming pool. That's where we had the school. We went from being in the sweatbox, which put us closer to Ingram, not Ingram, but put us closest to the River Center. It was right down the street because the River Center is on Commerce also. To being right off of Walden, across from the Windsor Hills Mall. Probably who knows if that shit even exists anymore, right? Because that was nigger zone back then. Point is, these men had this, and I slept on the floor in their house. That's how we did that. Then Ariella was coming to town, so we can't have Ariella living like me. That was our mentality. Can't be sleeping on no. And as a matter of fact, this was before Ariella even got. Matter of fact, this was even before we got that house. We were in the sweatbox when Ariella came through. So the point is, we were making all of these moves with the intention of making life better for the men. All I needed was a place where we could teach. So we operated out of the living room of that house, and the garage was the office. I turned that into an office, and that's where we dealt with all the, Ingram Park. We was at like 4 or 5 malls back then. Maybe 4. This was before Windsor shut down. So we was in Windsor, we was in the River Center, we was in Ingram Park Mall, and we was at Eisenhower, the flea market right down the road on Walls. And so from there, the neighborhood, the community came up against us. Neighbors out front, Judite cats was out accusing us of dealing drugs out of that house and took us to court. So the judgment was we had to leave or be charged $2,000 a day, a $2,000 a day fine. And they gave us 30 days to go because that would have been $60,000. And then from there, it was going to jump exponentially. So we went on and got scattered to the wind. This is how I ended up, and me and Bonabad had a spot in the Sage Crossing, a little apartment complex off of 210. The war was over there, down on the road, close to the military base with his woman. He had to take some brothers in. Ma'at, Yasha Allah, Crackzilla, he had to take some brothers in. That big old brother, I don't know if you know forgot Ahad. Big old, okay, I call him Son by 4, right? You look like the heavy set dude that's singing that Spanish group. He had most of the brothers in his house, and that's where we had the school off of Data Point. That's what we, and so we was all Abad had some of the brothers living with him and his rib. So we was all scattered. And so I remember just telling the Warden about it. I said, man, we can't keep doing this. We can't keep renting, and then the neighborhood don't like us, so they kick us out. So that's too much money to be, And so that's when we prayed and put into effect a campaign to get the school, to get the brothers a house where they could, where they could stay at and it'd be ours, and then to buy a school. So we wouldn't have the issue of people, all the traffic. You guys know how it is that come to the school by way of class and business. Yes, my water.
That's when the owning or purchasing of a brother's house got established.
That was listen, we wasn't even thinking like that until then. I was a steward then. That was the last thing on my mind. But I'm trying to show you, this is how also the Most High operates to bring about a new, or let's say this, to expand your way of thinking, to expand your knowledge of the possibilities and what is allowed in him. So that's how it came about. We was content to continue to rent on until Christ came back. That's what I did out here. I'm still renting out here. I never bought nothing for me. I never looked for no house. I had how many opportunities out here to buy a business, but I would have been had a decent house. That ain't what I'm into. It's not my thing. I'm passing through. Like the scripture said in Hebrews, we're pilgrims on this earth. I'm in search of another home. But while we're here, the congregation needs. And so we couldn't keep getting, yes.
I was gonna say, off of your point, what you said, you bouncing from house to house. can that safely be applied to when Christ said that foxes have holes?
Exactly. And listen, that's exactly what it is. And listen, but see, that's the point. That's how I came up in the truth, period. I was living in the garage when I came into the truth. I moved to New York. The first brother that took me in was a brother named Yasser Allah. I lived in Brooklyn in Bed-Stuy on Halsey with him. That was a couple of weeks. Then we ended up going to a place over on Washington and Clinton in the Clinton area of Brooklyn. And then from there, with a brother named Mawar, by the way, from Panama. And then from there, we ended up with this brother named Banya Sha'ala on Hunts Point out there in the Bronx. Then we ended up, the Most High blessed the camp with a brownstone in Brooklyn. And I was only there for a few months before the brothers popped up from nowhere, out of nowhere at Albuquerque at our door. We taught them, they stayed. And then a couple of months later, they brought us out on the road. And I've been on the road ever since, dealing with the foxes have holes. I accept that. I came out here sleeping on floors for a whole damn year. And that was one of the things that I used to have for brothers. How, as we progress and grow in this word, do we forget how to sleep on floors? Do we forget how to eat humble? Do we forget that the power in our ministry and our servitude is abstinence and sacrifice and suffering? That's the power of it. So that when the only thing that brought about getting a place was the congregation. And I said, no, because you can't teach. You can't establish nothing. 3 months you here, and then all of a sudden you gotta get in touch with people and say, listen, we'll let you know when we got a spot. So I'm done with that. But had it not been for that adversity, that adversity is what the Most High used to take my thinking to another level. So that means I began to think bigger, but bigger on behalf of the congregation, not me. Then it was the endless campaigns of raising money. One of the real estate agents stole about $12,000 to $15,000 from us. We had to start from scratch again. And the Most High blessed us with that place, and it was in beautiful condition on Glenview. Then Bonabad got his crib. Then I got my crib. Bonabad lived 2 or 3 blocks away from the house. I lived on another area, forgot, Viva Max, on the north side of town, over by that high school on the other side of Ingram Park Mall. A war. In other words, the men got hooked up first. Then let me say this out. Then the other blessings started. He made us sweat and toil. This is where that brother Mawala, another brother Mawala, died up in the Sage Crossing, living with me in Bonabad. He came up from Albuquerque. It was all type of blows that we was taking out. All type of, let me say this, demoralizing blows. But you had to have faith. You had to trust. And once we fought through that, it took a year to deal with the brothers' homes and close that deal. And that was upsetting because we was hoping to get the school first, but the Most High, actually, the men couldn't continue the campaign and not have a settled place. Then once we got the home, we had both campaigns going simultaneously. But the deal with the house closed before the deal with the school. The owner of the school, brother named Moses Garcia, who lived over there by Woodlawn Park, he just wanted to rent to us. Then he went from renting, then leasing, and then he said, I'm going to take the note. And he went on and made a direct sale to us. And then the bank picked up the note from him. And the rest was, and then listen, and once that happened, then everything else just fell into place. Like my house on Bonabad, it just came. Because that'd be the challenge, Jock. The challenge be with the stewards, what you just said, Dawiyat, making the right decisions on behalf of the congregation and putting yourself last. I be daring brothers, challenging them, something to get them to see the power. The power is in the service. The power is in the sacrifice. Now, when you know this and you fail to do it, that is hatred. Just like when you know it and you perform it, what? Putting them first. Christ said there's no greater love that you could do. So if that is the greatest love that you can do, The greatest love that you can perform and demonstrate is by putting what? Laying down your life for the brothers. Then obviously by default, then what is the opposite? What is to do the opposite? Shit, the greatest form of hatred. And that's what you guys experience. That's why you speak of Dawiyad, $10,000 on occasion going to a camera that was only used maybe 3 times, but it could have went through brothers, and it could have went through some type of preparation, or what do you call it? How do you call that shit? Maintenance on the house. Getting caught ahead in the mortgage. Working on the air conditioning for the school, or whatever excuse was given to lose the school. But you got your big home. That's why it descended. But elements of there that was from the old days, a war, Shamshwan, right, is what made it, the strength of them is what kept it going for as long as it did. But then when the Most High was done with that person as a steward, the Lord brought about a circumstance that resulted in removing his candle. Now, all of that went on, what were the younger men and sisters, what yoke were they under? They were under the yoke of trusting the Most High and staying. Now, the question is, was the teaching being done the level that would prepare them to do so? That's what determines whether or not the person could have stayed. There's 2 factors to that. The level of investment in the teaching, and then the person themselves. When it all comes down to it, you're still personally responsible. And that's why I have to teach my ass off, because you've been personally responsible. I'm responsible for equipping you for the responsibility that you have to assume. That's what it means when it says gold. It's what I invest in you and then what you take on. But if you're leaving the truth during those hard times, when you see the obvious unfairness and the obvious hatred, but it's not being characterized as hatred, it's being characterized as misappropriation of funds or all other things, right? Lust, inordinate behavior with brothers' wives. Y'all, what were you supposed to do? Those that are still there, you were supposed to do just what you did, stay. Because the Most High is measuring you for your what? For your faith. But the question is whether the previous shepherds are responsible for you, in the sense of, have they prepared you for the coming purge? Have they prepared you? Have they invested in you the time in the scriptures? And I'm gonna say this, Dawiyad, you know better than me. That's where the tug of war came in. That's where one brother, a war, teaching the strength and fighting to keep the expectation and the standard and the demand high, because he knew the fire was coming, was being what? Was being countered by another teacher placating and telling people what they want to hear, and just rewarding brothers with positions and podiums and all of that stuff. But where are those teachers and those brothers? That's how you know it was weak. Because they still won't come and put hands to it. So this brother was giving out responsibilities to men that weren't willing to do what it takes to fight to keep the school if the school would come under jeopardy. How do you know that? Because they're not sitting in class now. They're not assuming responsibility for more now, huh? That's how. That's how you know. But all of it, the whole experience is from the Most High. And that's why you can't be teaching and giving no damn hypothetical situations. You got to take what we go through and put that in the proper perspective, because the same thing is going to come. The same opportunity. The issue is just, is a war going to be stand fast, or is he going to buckle to it? And I'm going to tell you, he going to stand fast. That's how it is. All you got to do is go back and read the Chronicles, of the Kings. And this king reigned for so many years, and he did that which was pleasing to the Lord. And he fortified the cities of Judah, and he put up the so-and-so, and he brought all the victuals and da-da-da-da. But then his son came and did that which was evil in the sight of the Lord. Then his son came and did that which was evil. But then his son came again and did that which was pleasing. That's how it always is. I just like to look and pray that the Most High saw my stewardship there, that it was something that was pleasing to him. But I know the circumstance and the condition and the status of the camp and the men and the sisters when I left. And everything was strong. And you know that, Dawiyah. You saw what the school was like when you came there. You saw what the business was like. You saw the spirit of the brothers was like. You saw the home and how everybody was provided for.
The culture was unified and strong. Everybody was.
There was truly singleness of heart there, wasn't it?
It was singleness of heart, and the sisters. I ain't gonna lie, sisters were hard, bro. The sisters could counsel. I ain't gonna lie, bro. The sisters. I saw sisters dropping strong ass counsel.
Yeah.
Karatazai. I'll never forget that sister.
Yeah.
That's a buy. I'll never forget that sister. The sisters were. It was a rugged time. They had rugged husbands. It was completely alien because everybody else in the world wasn't living like that. It wasn't cool to be.
Right.
It wasn't cool as hell. You were really a effing weirdo to do what we're doing. And they had strong conviction.
And you know what? Them was the sisters, along with them brothers, that helped us in all them campaigns to acquire all of that for the body. It was it. I'm talking about, because I was the one taking every, my backyard, like when we did these campaigns, Awar had San Antonio. Sometimes I think he would do San Marcos, I'm not sure. But mine was certain sections of San Antonio, and I was always Austin and Houston. When it came down to the Mother's Day cards, Austin and Houston. When it came down to selling the clothes, Austin and Houston. That was me bringing in, And so my group, we would jump in this car and go there and be there all day. We had brothers up there. We had sheriffs that I was teaching. They would ride by in their patrol cars, bring the brothers water, bring the brothers and sisters food to eat. They would be looking out for us because they knew we was raising money, and they didn't want their way of taking care of us was making sure nobody came out there and tried to rob us for our money that we was making out there. This the Most High. Listen, he was with us, because it was all. And listen, everybody was exhausted. I was sunburnt like everybody else. I was out there selling clothes on what is it? What?
Marbach.
That's it, and it was a bit by the water, right next to the Waterberg over there.
Now I passed by when I was in middle school. I saw the brothers. And I asked the lady, "Can I go over there?" And she's like, "Nah." And I went on my way, but I never forgot what I saw in the parking lot.
Yeah, that was us. You probably saw the red Suburban parked on, and I think Bonabod's, he had his car parked, his Jeep face to face. We bumped the music out there, and I went down, I forgot what little what industrial park, but I bought a whole bunch of those nice little clothes racks that you be seeing in department stores. So it was looking like a little bitty department store out there in the parking lot.
I saw brothers jump in the air. I saw Malak. Can't forget Malak.
You saw Abad. You saw one of the twins. You saw myself. You saw War. You saw Abad. Ma'ite was even out there. Ma'ite's rib was out there. But we was everywhere. Right? I'd go from there to Walsham. I was the one teaching by, I forgot, I don't know if that was a Jack in the Box, right across the street from Windcrest, by the Windsor Park, was some fast food restaurant.
Mertzburg.
No. It was on Walsham, right down the street from right far, I guess, east from Eisenhower Mall, from Eisenhower Flea Market. So that was like another area that I operated out of when the crews separated. And then on certain days, like big money days, might have been Sunday, then we'd all come together and be right there on Marbach. But yeah, brother. And so that's the work. That's how it was the whole time. And that was while we were still in the sweatbox. That was while, listen, years of working, but it happened fast. That's the reality of it. And so to do that, I don't say this to exalt me. I'm saying this to be able to identify how you lay down your life for your brothers, for the body, for the needed church. That's how you do it. Now, to know this, to have this experience, see, that's the point. The brother before war come, he had experience. Brother partook in building Albuquerque, which was our strongest place before all of this. Because while we were doing this, what I'm describing, Albuquerque was full grown. We were babes. I said we, meaning the Texas body. Then he went and participated in the expanding and building of California. Then he came to Texas. So he had this experience for years. So that's why I'm saying, to not know it, that's why the scriptures tell you. And he who knew not his master's will shall be beaten with few stripes. But he who knew his master's will and did not shall be beaten with many stripes, because that's hatred. Because to know it and to perform it, Christ said there's no greater love. But to know it and to not perform it, I'm telling you, there's no greater hatred. Because you know, you're not ignorant. You're not a novice. The Most High have taken you and invested all that time in you, and so he expects that of you. That's the expectation. That's why he invested it in us. So what? What did he tell the apostles? Freely you have received, freely give. Right? Did he not say that? Okay. So that means we're expected to give of our experience. And that's what it means. I hope it's getting clearer for you, W.I.
No.
That's what I'm trying to allude to. There's a great deal of time when the Most High expect that of us. That is there, brother. That's you're on some shaky ass ground when you have all of this time invested in you, and you turn around and have experience and saw the strength and saw the continual building. Then you come back and deviate, and it results in the destruction, but in the destruction to where your comfort and your own convenience is procured while everything else languishes and suffers loss. Brother, that's hatred. Because you know. Is that clear before we move on?
Good.
You sure?
I get it. I was trying to explain how the time, the actions over time. Like Esau, they give you a record. They have a case by case record of all the things we do wrong, and then we get convicted. You know, it was like that. But that's how hate manifests. It's the decision, action, problem, don't solve, neglect.
Exactly.
It adds up. I get that.
And that's why I said the reason why I say hatred is because what other explanation can be offered for someone or men that know better through experience and through having experienced the bounty and through having experienced the productivity and the blessing of the Lord, to come back and just take a standard less than that and deprive the men and the families. Like you said, when you first got in, even the sisters was hard and they could counsel. We didn't have no soft ass sisters. Like they was out there in the sun burning up with it, and we took care of them. Then on top, and then we had to break them off, get them home enough so that they could come and see to it that they had a rotation where they kept us fed at sweatbox. They was responsible. Like we leaned and depended on them, because if we didn't eat. If they didn't do their part, we didn't eat. If they didn't do their part and contribute to getting that school out, brothers, let me see this. Them dudes was bad. And I can tell you, I wasn't there and I wasn't getting the proper true reports, but I know one of the things for them leaving was clear negligence and misappropriation or unfair allocation of the funds. That's the only reason for a person to leave something that's productive and working for them. It's no longer providing for them. That's the only reason. Whether spiritual, whether physical, material, or whether all above. You don't just up and leave something that's productive for you and your family. That have a history of providing for you. You don't just fuck it, things is going too good, let me leave. You don't do that. You know what I mean? Okay, verse 17 one more time. We're still going down to 22. We're still in 1 John chapter 3.
1 John chapter 3, verse 17. But whoso hath this world's good, and seeth his brother have need, and shutteth up his bowels of compassion from him, how dwelt the love of the Most High in him?
Now take that verse and measure me by that. That means not just any old brother, but a steward who's in charge of the allocation of the funds, who's in charge of the decision making that determines where funds go. What is the campaign? What goal are we reaching for? Got to the point where there were no goals. There was no more building campaign. Am I wrong? Because you yourself, Shamshwan, try to bring ideas because you guys what? Develop now and got goals so we can see how we can expand our business and make it better. Hell, I had them. I kept saying, brother, come out here, I want to show you. But we were talking about taking it to a whole nother level, man. We was talking about taking it 100% therapeutic because that's where the money was. People buying the things that help their health, that improve their health, their standard, their quality of life. We would have been into so many things behind for the God. Eastern Oils was going to be converted to something totally different. I could not get the brother to lock into the coming first, because what you be needing is to see. Come see what we done did. Come see the presentation. Come see the story. Now, we ran out of space. We had way more things we wanted to do. He's talking about bringing in all types of at the whole, most people now are into what? Are into health food, vitamin supplements now. We had procured providers for that. We were providing for the clinics that did massage and massage therapy. We were providing for them. We was bringing in the different type of massage oils by the 60-gallon drums. Doing our essential oil combinations and going to the little places where they gave the massage. Brother, they was coming from El Salvador. They was coming from Brazil. They would come from Costa Rica. We was providing for everybody. That's how we bought the land.
Yeah, great.
So you have the scripture say where no vision is, the people perish. That means what? If we're not building, if we don't have a plan that's designed to build the congregation, then we languish by virtue of not moving forward. And the scriptures tell us that we're supposed to increase in the knowledge of the Most High. And that your fruit, Christ said in chapter 15 of John, that you bring in much fruit and that your fruit remain. But if your fruit remain, then what? Then they have to be provided for. But he's bringing you the fruit so that you can create more to provide for. You got more manpower, in other words. See, I don't come from that just sitting down teaching and teaching only. That shit would drive me crazy. Just coming to class only and I ain't got no plans, but just talking shit on the internet, screaming about the white man all damn day, every episode. What about the brothers? What about the Israelites? What about them? What potential lies ahead for them? How can we prepare them for the coming of Christ, God? What type of mind do the Most High at least want us to have fought to exercise ourselves in at the coming of Christ? And you go through the Gospels and it tells you we're supposed to have been prepared to exercise. Our servitude here is supposed to put us in a position where Christ can say, what? Good job. Well done, that good servant. Thou have been faithful over few, be thou ruler over 10 cities. So my question is your ministry bringing men up to be over even one city? For him to say that means what? That means he's rewarding this guy for having prepared men to assume in their level responsibility. To assume responsibility for other people's existence, for other people's well-being. That's what it means when he says, be thou ruler over 10 cities. Well done, servant. Thou hast been faithful with them few talents. Here, you got 2 talents and brought back 4, and you got 5. Okay, be thou ruler over 5 cities. That's what it says. That's what we're supposed to invest that intention into men. And that's what trying to buy a damn house for the congregation taught me. That's what trying to buy commercial property that we converted to the school and all the things that we had to go through, whether with the bank, whether with the owner, whether with the real estate agent, all the different things, the hoops that we had to jump through that just kind of amounted up in money. That's what that taught me. It taught me how to commit myself to whatever was required to procuring the needs of the congregation. I didn't get to, and while I didn't have no place to stay, we was operating out of a Cod's house as the school, where Bonabod and I stayed. That's where we handled all the business to the malls. That's how that got done, y'all. And so there's only so much classroom teaching and learning that you could do before the Most High is going to throw you into the water so your ass could sink or swim. Yeah, brothers in there, you know, too much class. I'm not enough class, and they are all about the money. Well, you be the person that's responsible for the street teaching, because that's the experience you have. Well, how come he won't come with me? Because he's running the whole fucking school. That's why. The hell is wrong with you? Now you know who else I'm talking about. But where are they now? See, they wouldn't just say, okay, this is going to be the baby that I work on. Because that would have been, that's what channels men into the school. But if you ain't doing, if you're not into what it takes, or don't have, or haven't acquired over your years what it takes to build men once they come in, then we can appreciate you as the vehicle through whom the Most High is bringing men into the school. Now we'll go ahead and develop them. That's how we work together. But you can't pull me away from my job to help you do yours, nigga. How many years you got this truth? See, that's what I mean when I said assume responsibility based on what's the time and the experience invested in you. And you wouldn't even do that. That's hatred, because you won't even give what you do have while constantly criticizing and finding fault. But you won't even assume responsibility for one aspect of the overall work. And want me to come and hold your hand and be with you while you do yours and let this fall? Then when you don't let it fall, or you all about the money only. But then get mad when your ass don't get no money from it. These are the demons that you've had to endure. And there will be more. And you don't be prepared for them demons by playing around using hypothetical circumstances to teach lessons when you got your real ones that you need to benefit from. Shit, in my eyes, that's hatred. Because now I've got to play pretend with your ass with my imaginary friend. Let's talk to my imaginary circumstance so we can learn so we can understand what we're learning in 1 John. No, I'm going to talk about the real brothers. So that we can learn so we can understand and grasp what we're reading here. Why do we got to play games and play fictition? What we're gonna do make DreamWorks movies and shit? Got the little boy fishing off of the moon, a DreamWorks production. We got to dream up ideas, to dream up circumstances, hypothetical circumstances to teach scriptures that we can use our own true examples, our true experiences to properly navigate through them. And that's what I'm going to do. All right, verse 18.
18. My little children, my little children, let us not love in word, neither in tongue, but in deed and in truth.
Yeah, that means in work. That means come and do it. These brothers can still be working with us, because every man can be appreciated for the member of the body that they demonstrate themselves to be. And you can get more done like that. But once again, what are we dealing with? We're dealing with servants in Christ. So when you can't just come and lock in, like I said, let me say this. A lot of that be from slothfulness, It be from fear. You don't want to be responsible for anything. Well, you ain't gonna never damn grow. And listen, And you'll take that very same spirit and see the very same dynamic in their family. The brothers like that won't even assume. And listen, and why do I bring that up? Because that's in the scriptures. That's 1 Timothy chapter 3 and what? Verse 4. Where the scripture said, for man know not. Go there real quick. Go to 1 Timothy chapter 3 and verse 4. Verse 4 and 5.
First Timothy chapter 3, verse 4 and 5. First Timothy chapter 3, verse 4 and 5. One that ruleth well his own house, having his children in subjection with all gravity.
Right. Go ahead.
For if a man know not how to rule his own house, how shall he take care of the church of the Most High?
So what I'm trying to show you is we come into the truth. A lot of times we lose stuff. We come in and we all came in as young men who didn't have big families, or some of us didn't have any family. And so we learn what? See, it's a cycle. So let's say we come into the truth. I had to leave my daughter and the women and stuff when I first left California, went to New York. But the Most High would bring me a woman again. But what prepared me for that? How to deal with her? My time in the truth, the servitude, and the arduous work that I was being compelled and obligated to perform, and all the teaching and all the late night counsels, so that by the time I ended up getting a woman, my head was a little bit more screwed on than it was before I came into the truth. In fact, it was way more screwed on. The brothers used to always say, Kyle Cobb, man, wait till you get that woman. Because they would be commenting on how, how relentless I was and how strong. And I used to wonder, what's that supposed to mean? Because they was talking about, oh yeah, but you get a little weaker when you get your woman. And I couldn't see that. Now I saw it happen, but I couldn't see that happen to me, and it didn't. But the Most High taught me how to operate. It was very inconvenient. Only time I had first when I first met her was at 4 in the morning, calling her from a payphone in California to New Jersey to give her lessons. That's another way on how you put yourself, you put the congregation first. All my day and my time in my early morning literally went to where I was at. At this time, I was speaking of being in Oxnard, California. And so I'd get up at about 3 in the morning after class. I'd been slept a couple hours, get up, and back in the day, there was a brother providing calling cards, international calling cards and stuff. So I was using the calling cards to call her up 4 in the morning and teach her. 4 o'clock my time was 7 o'clock in the morning her time before she went to work. Be on the phone with her for about 2 or 3 hours teaching and going back down and getting back in bed now at about 7 o'clock, having to get back up and be ready for the workouts. That was in the morning. And I did the same thing in Albuquerque, New Mexico, calling her from there. I caught a break. It was 2 hours ahead instead of 3 hours ahead. California was 1 hour behind, In other words, that's how I had to put my life together in the truth. And then she came out to visit me. And so that's how it happened. I had to put me last the whole damn time. She didn't get brought out from New Jersey to Texas until I finally ended up committing to Texas after the split. Then I worked for about 10 months a year and then brought her out. She'd stay for 2 years and leave. Why? Because she still didn't get no time with me like she wanted. Because now the Most High done blessed us with a home and a school and more men. To whomsoever much is given, much is required. That's how you show love to the brothers first, huh? So, but the cycle that I'm referring to is the teaching and the training prepared me for her. And then my love for the Most High was going to be measured by prioritizing between the school and my family. So the school clearly came first. That's how that happens. And she took the kids. He was 2 years old. She was 4 months. Now she's 21. The LT is 23. Just got here when he was 19. I ain't seen him the whole time. That's how you got to do it. You got to trust the Most High. Now, I know that will always go down as a sacrifice, and the Most High measured me, and I'm glad. Because without that opportunity, without him But I didn't put in the, see, that wasn't her that left me. That was the Most High that used her as an instrument to measure my loyalty. They used her as an instrument to measure my desire to serve and put what? And maintain my first love. That's what that's about. Go ahead and read on down now. Read verse 4 and verse 5 now.
Verse 5. For if a man know not how to rule his own house, how shall he take care of the church of the Most High?
So now what does that do? What does me being measured by my own children do if I'm in that position? That compels me to what? Like it said here in chapter 3 and verse 18 of 1 John. Let us not love in word, neither in tongue, but in deed and truth. You get to see my actions. You get to measure my love by my actions. Damn, come man. And brothers, I didn't run around crying. Oh, my woman left me. Nobody knew. The only one who knew was Shamswan and Awar. Because Shamswan stayed at the house. I went to the school. I said, listen, brother, now I know somebody's coming to pick her up. I don't want to end up getting no nigga shit fight. I'm going to the school. I just need for you to keep an eye out on the house. Whoever comes to pick her up, just look out the window, make sure they get her things and get out of there. As soon as you see them pull off, give me a call. And that's what he did. But that was a good example for him. Now, I went on with life as normal, and about 3 months later, some of the sisters said, come, man, I ain't been around in a while. Where's your rib at? Also, she went back and visit. She went to visit her mother for a while, like the rest of her damn life. I didn't even tell him she left. Yeah, she took the kids going to visit their grandmama. She did. You know why? Because I had to show Awar and Bonavad what they were going to have to do and how, if needed to, they have to do it. You got to do it like that. That's what it means in word and deed. Or I could have demonstrated by going by putting more, by doing contrary to what the scriptures say do. The scriptures say no man that warreth. We was fighting. We had just acquired the school, just acquired the home. We was fighting like hell to what? To raise the bar for the men and the sisters who had what? Who were part of the campaign to acquire those things. But now they had to what? They had to be made what? Ready to assume responsibility for the maintenance and building beyond. Nobody have no time to just be movie night and this night and that night and blockbuster night. So my woman couldn't make the adjustment that all of a sudden, the little time that I had with her, I no longer even have that much time. So she left. I'm going extensively into what? Into when the scripture said, lay down his life for his brothers. So I could have gone through, listen, I could have given them a total and entirely different example. They could have saw me in long, embattled fights, coming in all frustrated, fighting over the damn kids, doing what it takes to whatever to not to get her to leave. Okay, brother, now I'm canceling classes. You see what I'm saying? Sound familiar? Now I got younger men and unproven men on the podium so that I can spend time with my fucking first love. You see the parallelism?
No, I see.
And so I end up now giving what? A poor lesson. One that when the men that are under me will find themselves in that circumstance, it's more likely that they follow the example that they saw from me now. So that's why my example had to be, and it was like that. I got the same. I had a woman left me with 2 kids up in Sacramento. Shit, I came in the night after she left. Hey, man, why you smile? I said, because I got me some good sleep last night, brother. I'm ready to move forward. And that's how I've been doing. And that was back in 2005. And them kids are teens. That I don't say that like a badge of honor. I'm saying, what do you think it means when it says lay down your life for your brothers? I could have invested what it took to keep that person happy. But the Most High showed me, no, that's not what I put you on the earth for. You're mine, not hers. And because you're mine, I'm giving you to them, that congregation, not that selfish ass her. That's all it is to it. If you want more, come be more part of the congregation. Like the other sisters. That's how you do it, huh? So, in other words, if I don't do that, listen, that's how I love in not just word, not just tongue, but in deed, meaning in actions and truth. And everything that we do, we're preparing men. And most brothers, like us, like all of us, is going to do what other men, what our teachers and what our examples, what our instructors, we're going to do what they did. More so than what they said only. If they say one thing and do another, we're more likely to follow what they do rather than what they said. Even though what they said was correct and what they did wasn't, we'll still follow what they do because that's the weak nature. All the weak nature needs is some other example to justify itself, to make itself feel good about the little that it's given, to make itself feel good about the fact that it could be given more, but this is what most of us do. That's what that weak element of the teaching was that was struggling against the world was doing. It was allowing men to feel great about not doing shit, putting them on the podium, putting them in responsibility where they weren't prepared for it. You come up here and be a part of what it takes to build this podium, what it takes to maintain this podium. That's what gives you access to it. Is you'll fight for it. You'll fight to keep it there. If we end up losing it, you'll fight to replace it with another. But where are they at? You see what I'm saying? That's how you love in word and in tongue, but not in deed. Not in truth. That is the poor example of what a servant is. Simple and plain. This shit is not difficult. We're not dealing with rocket science. The Most High said he have chosen the foolish things. He have chosen the things that are not. He's chosen the weak things. So that's what we are. So he don't make it hard for us. He don't make it rocket science for us. He make it simple. And that's why the scriptures say, lest any man deceive thee from the what? From the simplicity that is in Christ. This is not difficult. Serve, brother. Provide for the body. And the Most High provides for you. Your effort goes toward the body, and the Most High brings what? Takes care of all of us. That's what Philippians meant when it said, look to every man. Now go back to Philippians. We coming back here. We ain't done with 1 John. But go back to Philippians and read verse 2 and 3. Philippians chapter 2.
Philippians chapter 2.
Go ahead. Verse 2.
Fulfill ye my joy, that ye be like-minded, having the same love, being of one accord, of one mind.
Now, so this is not difficult, Doc. If it says one accord, one mind, then that means what is our objective? What is the priority? Is it my house? No. It's the school. It's the congregation. We operate from the congregation outward. Once the congregation, generally speaking, is cared for, then we go to what? Those that find themselves in exceptional need. They come before me. Then, when everything is done and everything is attended to, then I can, if there's something that I need, I can put that focus on me. But I ain't out, I'm not, even if the camp is doing great, I'm not out trying to buy no damn house. That's something else I could do. I'm passing through here. That's just me, y'all. Now, why do I say that? That's me because that's not everybody. That's a yoke that I'm under because the Most High made it clear to me of what my specific calling was. Other brothers done got a house. Hey, brother, cool. Why? Because they're a sedentary, stable steward. Everybody ain't called to do what, quote, Kawa Cobb did in his younger days, which was basically evangelist. You know, that's like the traveling teacher. That's what I did, among many other things. So that's that, in other words, but that which is in your, let's say, that but does pertain to the part of the body that you got to put that first toward the congregation. Period, point blank. That's how we do that. So that means when it says one mind, in what mind is that? That means the congregation is first. The needs of the congregation come first. Among the congregation, if anybody finds themselves an exceptional need, they are a priority over me. That's what it is to be a servant. They come first. Continue.
Verse 3, let nothing be done through strife or vainglory.
Right. Strife meaning contention and arguing and fighting, which, Daviyad, that's how you would characterize it. You even demonstrated to me about how it was pulled in 2 and 3 different directions. That's strife. You got one proponent dying to do things the way it was done before because that's what worked. Then you got another one creating a lesser standard. You got another one going in a different direction from them. That is the strife. And that's why you suffered more loss than anything. Because the Most High is not the author of confusion. He's not the author of where the strife comes from. So let nothing be done in strife and vainglory, meaning what? Personal recognition. We just read that. No, that's further down here. That's in this very same chapter, verse 7, right, where it says, where Christ made no reputation of himself. That's where the vainglory is. You want recognition for something. Every time you turn this brother, talking about, and this brother and the commanding general did this, and if it's not of the IC, well, that's a bunch of bullshit. You know it. They can't even find that in the Bible. And what happened to the episode where Christ is with the apostles, and the apostles said, we saw somebody casting out devils in thy name. Should we go over there and make them stop? And what did Christ say? Christ said, first of all, they that are not against me are with me. And it's not, nobody can say anything lightly against the Son of Man. In other words, he says, they that are not against us are for us. So where's these brothers coming from with this? If you're not of these letters, it's not of the Lord. I'm going to tell you where it's from. Vain glory. If it's not of these damn letters, it's not of the Lord. That is said, they can't even find that. So now they're following the doctrine of their teacher. And that's a doctrine of a devil. It's a deceiver, right? It's making acclamations that are false, not accusations, acclamations, the claims that what? That they're in a position that the Bible says no man is in. That's where the strife comes from. That's vainglory. And from that comes the strife. Now you got another nigga saying, that's about us. Because why? Because all of those congregations have been raised to be more into their respective elders than Christ. Because if that was the case, somebody under them would say, hold on, Johanna, this don't say this, man. This is wrong. Well, first of all, I'm a student. I know I've only been here for 20 years compared to your 40. So help me to understand, how do I justify myself in saying if it's not of ISUPK, it's not of the Lord? How can I justify brothers sharing their posts and me sharing their posts that's saying ISUPK is the only school that is authorized to teach the Bible on earth? I got a post that said that. I would put that teacher under the yoke of showing me that. And it better be clear. Don't be giving me no deep shit. It's so deep. Then what do? Hey, Michael. And you understand? What do? You have to put that person under the yoke of showing you that. Because the scriptures say they that are not against us are for us. You don't have to know them. Christ had 70 secret apostles beside the 12. Remember that?
No, I didn't.
Yes, my water. You're going to ask a question.
No, I was just gonna say like on your point far as in like proven information, like when people like come up to me and they try to like tell me what's what, I always think of 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 21.
Prove all things.
Yeah.
Hold fast to that which is true.
Yeah.
And that's what you do. But what I'm trying to show you is when it says do nothing out of strife and for vainglory, those are the examples. That vainglorious position that you promote results in strife. But what keeps us all in one mind and one accord? Following what is written. Simple and plain. That's the one mind. Go ahead, verse 3.
Verse 3 says, lowliness of mind, let each esteem other better than themselves.
You know what esteem is? Esteem is to regard someone, to regard highly. It's to regard highly or favorably. That means there's a level of regard. There's a level of respect that I have for you that supersedes and is more important to me than myself. Yes.
And what men will do is they'll use their wording to make people feel special and allow people to get deceived by wording and great conversation, right? But
Yeah.
the actions show, do I value or esteem you based on my actions? Because the wording, the esteeming through the words, that's the easy part. I've seen that so many years.
No, but it's talking about action. Do you put that, then if that brother is esteemed, then I put you first. I put your needs first. I put the time with you before I put it with my own family if there ain't no emergency. That's how you do it. It's telling us of how we operate, how we maneuver through our ministry, which is our servitude to one another, our services to one another. Read it again, verse 3.
Verse 3, let nothing be done through strife or vainglory, but in lowliness of mind, let each esteem other better than themselves.
So once again, when it says lowliness of mind, and we looked at that definition and it said low self-esteem, that means I don't esteem me higher than them. They are of a higher estimation in my eyes than I am. Read on down.
Every man on his own things, but every man also on the things of others.
That means I can't be about my first love if my first love ain't the scriptures. It said, listen, look not every man on his own things. That means it's not telling you that you can't look on your own things. It's saying that you can't be the only one that you consider. That's why it says, but every man also on the things of others. So the priority is you first, then me. That's the servant's mentality. You first, then me. Them first, then us, if it's a body of shepherds.
I get you. Every
Now,
position is about servitude first.
that's what it is.
Every position from member to top, whatever.
Listen, it's about servitude only. Shit, not first. I'm going to tell you why I say that. Because when you first come in, you need time to develop. One of the milestones of your development is the first responsibility that you receive. And it's through that responsibility that you're cultivated for positions to come or for more responsibility to come. It's how, because we go about doing work and we have to be shown how to do it. We have to be criticized on the quality of work. We have to be criticized and corrected on the amount of time that goes into it. You understand? But that's preparing me. And then all of a sudden, when you finally are to the shepherd's liking, when your work is to his satisfaction, he considers you for more. That's how you get developed. People that don't never come in into some responsibility, that's why you got underdeveloped brothers hanging out there in the wings. Because that's how you get developed. Hands on, having to what? Be schooled on how to do something. It's not just what to do, it's the mentality, it's all of the considerations that go into it. So that what is that doing? All that's doing, that ain't preparing you for rank. That ain't preparing to raise your ass up. That's preparing to what? Give you more responsibility. That's equipping you to be able to assume more and to have to answer for more, to have to give an account for more. So people will look at war and be like, oh, that's that rank. That ain't that rank. He's still a servant. Listen, he's responsible for making sure the shit don't fall. Wrong or right?
God.
That's a servant. Do you want to do that? And I know you do, but I'm not asking like yes or no, meaning have you gone through what it takes and are in the capacity to say everything about me and my household comes last now? Listen, that's not saying I'm putting them to the side. That just means they come last. I still got to keep them from falling. I still got to keep my family healthy. It's just what? The extended family comes first. So that's why I said it's not about servitude until you grow. It's about servitude only.
Oh,
The trajectory is that you grow in your servitude in that you assume more and more responsibility until finally you're the one in charge for what? To keeping the whole, not only keeping the whole operation going, but now looking and making provisions for its growth and expansion. Because what did Christ say? That ye bring in fruit and that your fruit remain. And then once you bring in fruit, Christ said, every branch that bringeth in fruit, him the Most High purged so that he could do what? Bring in more fruit. And that all of that fruit remain. So there's your time. That means it's not, okay, we coming in and we learn how to serve, then we become the shepherds. No, you come in and you learn how to serve until you finally can answer for it all. That's what a steward is. He's the highest. When I say highest, I'm not talking about in esteem. I'm talking about he answers for more. That position answers and has to do what it takes for the Most High to bless his ideas. Because if he don't do that, you already know now through previous shepherd, men go hungry. People suffer loss. People suffer, names get screwed up, helping somebody out, and you done screwed their name up. But something you wouldn't want to do to your name. You know what I'm saying? That shit is abuse and hateful. Something that you wouldn't allow to happen. You wouldn't want that to happen to your name, but now, well, all of those things, that's called self-serving. That's called what the scripture referred to as serving one's own belly. Let's go back to 1 John and finish that up.
1 John chapter 2. Sorry, 1 John, right?
1 John chapter 3 and verse 18 again. We're only reading down to 22 and then we'll call it for this evening.
1 John said 3 and 18, right?
Yes.
Okay. 1 John 3, verse 18. My little children, let us not love in word, neither in tongue, but in deed and in truth.
Go ahead.
And hereby we know that we are of the truth, and shall assure our hearts before him.
Meaning this is how we know that we're of the truth. By what? By the deeds. By loving in deed and not in word and tongue only. That's how we know that we're assured, that our hearts are assured. Go ahead.
For if our heart condemn us, the Most High is, sorry, I'll say it wrong, sir. It says, for if our heart condemn us, the Most High is greater than our heart, and knoweth all things.
That means if we do something, your heart is your mind. So let's say you did something and slipped up and came and for whatever thing, for whatever cause, you done slipped up in your responsibility, and now you're condemning yourself. Now you're guilt-ridden. The Most High, listen, he didn't put you in this position of servitude because you know what to do. He put us all in these positions to teach us how to serve. So you're gonna make mistakes because those are how what? Behind the mistakes come the greatest lessons that we retain the most. Go ahead.
Verse 21, beloved, if our heart condemn us not, then have we confidence toward the Most High.
So that means what? When we are less plagued by mistakes, and when we learn from our mistakes, believe me, that's what you're going to do in your servitude. In your development as a servant, the experience is designed to exploit and manifest your shortcomings. So you don't have to condemn yourself, because that is the purpose of the process, to bring up and manifest your flaws to make you a better servant. So you're supposed to, because of that, because of understanding the process, you have confidence now in the Most High. And the only way you can have confidence is if you know what your intentions are sincere, man. Yeah, you done messed up, but that ain't, and I don't mean messing up ain't talking about adultery. There's a lot of planning that goes into things like that. We're talking about just oversights and things that you didn't, making the decision based on the best of your thinking, but the Most High now wants to show you the flaw in your thinking. So no matter how well the processes you went through are, you still couldn't consider nothing because you didn't know, because it was going to take a mistake to add that dimension to your thinking. That's where the confidence comes in, because you see the Most High is teaching you, but he's teaching you from the perspective of what you're lacking. And that happens with mistakes. Go ahead.
Verse 22, and whatsoever we ask, we receive of him, because we keep his commandments and do those things that are pleasing in his sight.
And y'all gonna see. Listen, I'm sure you're already beginning to see that. The time is gonna come out where you'll see what you're gonna really have to pray for, and you guys gonna have to begin to do is go out and talk and get men, because the opportunities are going to, you guys gonna be passing up opportunities because of the lack of manpower. That's how it happens. Like the Most High, when he wants you to do more toward teaching, he bring opportunities, and then all of a sudden you're like, damn, if we had this many more brothers, we could get in on that. And so what happens is you end up having to go deeper and clearer on one another's servitude. You got to pull closer together and become more scrutinous of one another's performance, because that's what the Most High want. What the Most High want is the effort toward preparation. When he sees that you're really putting the time into one another and really raising up the standard and raising up the level, raising up the expectation, he sees, okay, now they know what I want. And you're going to see, he's going to bring you more men. But you have to show him that your mind toward the men is in the right place with the men that are there. Because if the men that are there, if their weaknesses and their flaws and shortcomings are being overlooked, then the Most High is going to bring another bunch of brothers in to have the same take place. In other words, you guys invest only enough to get them to where they're at one level and they can't grow. You're not doing the job. But you strive like hell to have these classes, to have your councils, to spend all that time with the intention of raising up everybody's functionability. And the Most High will send you more men because you're showing him that you know the purpose for the men's presence. And that's for them to be developed. All right?
Come on.
All righty. Well, let's go ahead and just read verse 23 and 24 and finish it out, and then we're done for this evening.
Now, verse 23, and this is his commandment, that we should believe on the name of his son, Yahushua, and love one another, as he gave us commandment.
Yeah, man. And when you read chapter 13, that was where he washed the apostles' feet. So he wants us to serve each other like that. He said when he did it, I give you an example so that you should know how to serve one another. Go ahead.
And he that keepeth his commandments dwelleth in him, and he in him.
That means if we keep the Most High's commandments to love and serve one another, then that means that's how we show that we dwell in Christ, and because of that, Christ dwells in us. Go ahead.
And hereby we know that he abideth in us by the Spirit which he hath given us.
That's how he know what? That's how we know that Christ is in us, by the Spirit that he gave us. And what Spirit is that? It's his Spirit, that of a servant. We're going to be hammering this one away, y'all. So the next level of studying servitude is what's required. What is really required to perform the servitude in the manner that we went over tonight? Is one thing: focus. Focus. That's what we're gonna go over next week. Okay, now we clear on we're serving, right?
Yeah.
That means how do we grow into that? We focus on servitude only. We focus on servitude, one responsibility at a time. The more, and you're gonna see it's that dynamic that the Most High demonstrates what he really wants from you. You'll find out that all he really wants is everything about you: your mind, your thoughts, your daily, what do you always be thinking about? When the scripture said with all thy heart, with all that, what do you think all thy heart means? That means he wants your thoughts to be consumed with him. And how do you do that? You're always thinking about your responsibility to the body. How can you be better? My total could have been better. I could have been a better work companion today out on the moving job. I could have done a bit of, I could actually start working on teaching. It's the only thing that gives you that is focus. The Most High will not come to you. He will not send Christ to you to make things clearer for you if you don't consume yourself and focus in your servitude. That's what we're going to go over next week, all right?
You are, bro.
My brothers, have a powerful Sabbath tomorrow, and I'll see y'all next week.
God.
All right, shalom, brothers and sisters.
Shalom, man.
Shalom. Shalom, man.